Chapter 11:22. Huamin smiled shyly. How can I be that lucky? Plus, I don't have the genes for multiple births in my family. It's hard to come by, and the chances are very low. Huamin used to work in the OB/GYN department, so she knew the principles of medicine. Huamin was very rational and wouldn't have unrealistic dreams. After looking at the babies for a while, she reluctantly left. There were a lot of people in front of the elevator, so she chose to take the stairs. The stairs leading to the second floor were very spacious, and many medical staff members left because it was too troublesome to take the elevator. Therefore, she didn't notice the people coming and going in a hurry. A woman in a white coat walked past her with her head lowered. Chief Hua. Huamin nodded. She was used to greeting people like this. There were many doctors in the hospital, but she didn't know many of them. However, most of them knew her because she was too famous, therefore, she didn't care when the female doctor greeted her. However, when she returned to her office, she realized that her work ID was gone. It was hanging in front of her chest. She had it just now. The work ID wasn't anything special, and there was no important personal information on it. However, there was a 1-inch photo of Huamin with a blue background. She was barefaced and beautiful. Qin Chu once joked that only people who looked so beautiful in their work ID photos were truly beautiful. Huamin immediately became frustrated. She searched everywhere in the office but couldn't find it. Jia, come in for a second. She called her assistant on the intercom. A minute later, Chen Jie ran in. Chief, what's wrong? My work ID is gone. Did you see it? I saw you wearing it around your neck this morning. Chen Jie was a little surprised. Yeah, it was still there when I went to the OB/GYN department, but it was gone when I came back. Did you lose it on the way back? I'll go look for it. Chen Jie was about to leave. Wait.
Jie.
What else do you want me to do, Chief? Chen Jie turned around. If you didn't find it on the way back, ask the PA system to look for it and see if anyone found it. Bring it to me. Huamin felt that the work permit was not worth much. If he lost it, he would have to get a new one. It would be very troublesome. Therefore, he wanted to ask the broadcaster to look for it. Chen Jie nodded and closed the door to help Huamin. But after searching for a long time, he still found nothing. Someone has found Director Huamin's work pass. Please send it to the radio station on the first floor. On the rooftop of a building opposite the Southern District, there was a young girl in a black leather jacket with waist-length hair. She did not seem to be afraid of the cold. She sat on the windy rooftop with a brand new work permit in her hand. Then, he read it word by word. Huamin, chief physician of the Department of Neurology. 10 minutes ago, she had pretended to be a doctor and brushed past Huamin. Then, he quickly stole her work permit, but she didn't realize it at all. She even deliberately spoke to her, but she only treated her as a colleague that she didn't know. The girl held the work pass with a warm look in her eyes. She never knew that she could be so close to her. So close. Boss, the helicopter will pick us up in 15 minutes. We should go. The man in a black cashmere coat behind her reminded her with a serious face. Okay. The girl looked at the work pass and carefully put it in her coat pocket. Perhaps he saw through her thoughts. The man behind her said, Our mission is urgent, so we can't stay for long. Boss, if you want to see her, there will be many opportunities in the future. I know. The girl slowly stood up and looked at the Southern District office building across the street. Then, she slowly put on a pair of black deerskin gloves. She jumped down from the top step of the rooftop and left with the man. The radio station broadcast for an entire afternoon. In the end, Huamin still couldn't find the work pass, so he applied for a new one. At night, when Huamin got off work, he put on his headphones and called Qin Chu. Honey. Qin Chu picked up the phone, his voice always filled with gentleness. Honey, are you back? Huamin smiled happily. Chapter 11:23. Not yet, honey. I'm still out of town. I didn't get on the plane, Qin Chu replied softly. Oh, are you coming back tonight? Huamin was slightly disappointed. Huamin had become super clingy. She didn't want Qin Chu to go on a business trip, especially if he had to spend the night in another city. She would feel lonely if she was the only one left in her bedroom at South Hill Manor. Even if she knew that there were many maids in the house, she would still feel empty. I'll probably be back around 8 p.m. Don't wait for me for dinner, it's too late. Okay, I'll go to my mom's for dinner. Oh, right, there's a good movie on. Do you want to go with me? I don't know when I'll be there. We'll decide after dinner. Okay. Huamin nodded and hung up. After Qin Chu hung up on Huamin, Rick called. Although he was Qin Chu's good friend, he rarely called Qin Chu. Every time he called, he had something important to say. So, Qin Chu was very careful when he picked up Rick's call. Qin Chu, something strange happened today. I have to tell you. Okay, go ahead. Qin Chu looked calm. You know that I've sent people to protect Huamin, right? So, we know who's around her. Ever since she was kidnapped, our people snuck into the hospital and followed Huamin closely to protect her. But today, at this point, Rick paused. Qin Chu was also shocked by what he heard. What happened today? Qin Chu asked. When Huamin went to work this morning, a suspicious Hummer followed her, but I'm not sure. What do you mean you're not sure? Qin Chu frowned slightly. Rick wasn't sure what kind of person it was. Was Mion in danger again? Because that car would sometimes wander behind her, but after a while, it would change lanes and leave. Then it would appear out of nowhere. This feeling doesn't make sense. Then this car, will it follow her all the way to Southside? Qin Chu asked worriedly. No. When we were about to reach Southside, the car turned in another direction. It seemed like a coincidence, but based on my years of experience, I don't think it's a coincidence. If it's not a coincidence, then we can only say that the person in the car is an expert and is playing a game of hide-and-seek with us. If that's the case, then it's a little troublesome because the person is obviously very intelligent. So, I want to ask you, do you want to increase the protection of Huamin or tell her not to go to work for a while? Rick was a very calm person. He was known for his steadiness in handling matters. Some people might think that he was making a mountain out of a molehill. However, the truth was that his analysis was always right. Even if it was just a hunch, it was always accurate. I don't think it'll work if we tell her to stay at home. Mion won't agree. She can't stay idle. How about this? I'll trouble you to send more people to make sure she's safe. Qin Chu thought for a moment and said. Okay, I'll tell my people to be more careful. Oh, right, there's one more thing that's suspicious. I wonder if it has anything to do with this. I have something to tell you. Rick suddenly remembered something. Go ahead. Chapter 11:24. You've heard of the Green Tiger Hall, a gang in our city, right? I've heard of them. They're involved in underground casinos and loan sharks, right? Qin Chu knew a little about the gangs in the city. Yeah, they don't have a good reputation and not many people want to talk to them. I heard that their boss is a Russian who has been giving them money and keeping a bunch of puppets. But this morning, when they were setting off firecrackers in their newly built casino, there was a huge explosion. Many people were injured, and the boss of the Green Tiger Hall, Hong Ji, died on the spot. Huh? Why didn't I hear anything about it? Qin Chu was a little surprised. Because the police blocked the news, they didn't want anyone to know. The local news only said that the firecrackers exploded, but according to my investigation, someone planted a super explosive called HKN-5 in their new casino. I think they were set up. At the same time, a group of unknown people left the city on a helicopter. I can't find their identities, and I can't find any information about the helicopter either. It's very strange. Even you can't find anything? Qin Chu was even more surprised. Yeah, even I can't find anything, so I'm wondering, do these people have anything to do with Huamin's stalking? I don't think so. She wouldn't offend such a powerful person, Qin Chu said slowly. That's good. I'm just guessing. I'll leave you to work. I'll contact you later. Then, Rick hung up the phone. Qin Chu, on the other hand, couldn't calm down for a long time. If this really had something to do with Huamin, then they were in big trouble. A group of people who could blow up a huge underground casino without anyone knowing, and a group of people who could fly in and out of a helicopter without anyone knowing their identities. Even stalking someone could make you feel so unreal. What kind of terrifying existence was this? Sir, Mayor Kai asked us to stay for dinner. He arranged a dinner party. Assistant Yang reminded him. He looked at his watch. It was almost 6 p.m. He promised his wife that he would watch a movie with her at 8 p.m. So, Qin Chu shook his head. Tell him we're not going, maybe next time. I'm okay. It wasn't the first time that the president had rejected the mayor's request. Yang knew that no matter who it was, in his boss's eyes, a young lady was more important. Therefore, he immediately canceled the dinner and took a private plane back. Before boarding the plane, Chin-Chu sent a WeChat message to Humin. "Honey, I'm on the plane. I'll be there around 8:30 p.m. You can book the movie tickets now." When Humin saw the WeChat message, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. "Mian, what are you laughing at?" Yang Meirong looked at her daughter curiously. Nothing." Humin put down his phone and continued eating. "Cousin Humin," Yang Xiaoping said weakly. Is the food to your liking?" "Oh, it's good." These dishes were all made by little Ping. Don't be fooled by her young age. She's very capable. When she's at home, she'll help your uncle with everything. Harvesting the crops, harvesting the corn, and even the chickens, ducks, geese, and dogs at home are all taken care of by her. She's also very good at cooking. This child is very virtuous. Clearly, the mother liked this niece very much. To be honest, Humin had no feelings towards this girl. He didn't like her, nor did he hate her. Yeah, she's very virtuous. Upon hearing his mother's words, Humin smiled and agreed. He didn't want to spoil his mother's mood. "Cousin, do you need a nanny?" "I don't have a job right now. Annie said that your house is big and beautiful, so you probably need a lot of help." "Can I help you?" "I can do anything," Yang Xiaoping suddenly asked. Humin froze. Chapter 11:25. My family doesn't need people anymore, Humin slowly said. The truth was, South Hill Manor was so big that it didn't matter if there was one more person or one less. It would only cost a few thousand yuan a month. However, for Mr. Qin, having 10 or even 100 people wasn't a problem at all. GK's daily income was more than an ordinary person could earn in a lifetime. To Chin-Chu, money was just a number, not a savings account. However, Humin subconsciously didn't like his cousin, so he didn't want to pretend to be a saint and let her work for him. "Mian, why don't you give your cousin a job at the hospital or Chin-Chu's company? She can't stay here forever." Yang Meirong wouldn't keep her niece for herself. After all, she was her biological niece and couldn't order her around like a nanny. Therefore, she had been thinking about giving her a job. She thought that since her daughter was so capable, it shouldn't be hard for her to find a job. Before Humin could say anything, Yang Xiaoping said, "Mian, I'm a timid person and I don't really like the hospital environment. Why don't you see if there are any vacancies at my cousin-in-law's company and arrange for me to work there?" "I haven't been to the company in a few days. I'll go check it out later." "I can't give you an answer right now, but his company is mostly open for sales and senior management. I don't think you're suitable. You can also be a cleaner, but I don't want you to do that." "Then, if my cousin-in-law needs someone to clean his office, I can do it for him." The girl's eyes lit up when she talked about Chin-Chu. "He has a secretary and an assistant in his office," Humin said vaguely. "Don't worry, Mian, let Xiaoping stay here for now and see what she can do. It's best if you can find her a place to eat and live, or else it'll be inconvenient for her to get to and from work." "Mom, the places that provide food and living are mostly in the service industry, like restaurants and hotels. The employees of big companies don't care about where they live. Even if we eat, it's only lunch." Humin looked at his mother, a little troubled. "That's fine, we'll talk about it when we find one." Humin didn't have much of an appetite either. He got up and wiped the corner of his mouth. "Mom, I'm done eating. I'll leave first." "You're leaving so soon? Have some more fruits. I'll get Xiaoping to wash an apple for you." "No need, I still have something to do." Humin hugged his mother and acted coquettishly before walking out. "Cousin, I'll walk you." Yang Xiaoping volunteered to walk Humin all the way to the entrance of the neighborhood. "Cousin, why didn't my cousin-in-law come with you today?" Yang Xiaoping suddenly asked. "He's on a business trip. He's not home." "Oh, then you have to be careful." "Be careful of what?" Humin frowned slightly. He didn't know what Xiaoping meant. When a man says that he is going on a business trip, he actually has a woman outside. Cousin-in-law is so handsome and has a lot of money. I guess he might have a woman outside. You'd better keep an eye on him and don't let him go out in the future." "Ha, who told you this?" Humin sneered. "I saw it on TV." That's how it's supposed to be. Yang Xiaoping replied blankly. Huamin patted Yang Xiaoping's shoulder and said in a meaningful tone, "Don't watch those 8 p.m. dramas anymore. Go out more often and experience the real life of a big city." Then, Huamin pressed the car remote, opened the door, and got into the driver's seat. Yang Xiaoping was still trying to figure out what Huamin's words meant. Huamin bumped into someone he knew when he was buying tickets at the movie theater downtown. Why are you here?" Huamin was surprised to see Rick at the entrance of the movie theater. Chapter 11:26. Let's watch a movie? Rick was a man of few words. No wonder he was Qin Chu's good friend. They were indeed the same type. It was as if he would die if he said one more word. Huamin looked at the girl behind Rick. It was the girl that Rick looked so nervous the other day at the cocktail party. It seemed like this ice cube was really in love. "Oh, you guys go ahead. You're here alone." Rick was surprised to see Huamin come alone. "Qin Chu will be here soon." Rick nodded and then said, "Okay, we'll go in first." "Okay." Rick bought tickets for the movie that was about to start, while Huamin bought tickets for the movie that would start half an hour later. Therefore, Rick and the others went in. When they went in, the girl named Cece even smiled at Huamin in a friendly manner. Huamin returned a friendly smile. She held 2 movie tickets and waited at the entrance. The movie was about to start, and everyone went in after checking their tickets. But Qin Chu still hadn't appeared. Huamin was a little anxious, so she picked up her phone and made a call. "Sorry, the number you have dialed is unavailable." His phone was still turned off. Huamin remembered that she had an appointment with Qin Chu. Did he go to the wrong place? Or did he have something else to do? That shouldn't be the case. If he had something else to do, he wouldn't let her wait any longer. Just as her thoughts were running wild, a voice suddenly came from behind her. "Miss, are you waiting for someone?" Huamin turned around abruptly and immediately threw herself at Qin Chu. She wrapped her arms tightly around his neck. The staff in the theater kept looking over. "I thought you weren't coming." "Why would I? I promised you. If I didn't show up, I'd have to kneel on a durian when I got home." Qin Chu lovingly patted Huamin's head. She smiled then. She took Qin Chu's arm and walked into the cinema. The movie they were watching had just been released recently. It was called Slightly Alluring Smile. Huamin had read this novel before. It was very funny and light-hearted then, after the movie was made. The lead actor was also very good-looking, so she suddenly came up with the idea. She did not miss Grave Robbers Chronicles a while ago, but Qin Chu was busy with a staff meeting at that time. Xiaowei was pregnant and couldn't go to the cinema, so she had an appointment with Zhu Lingling. They were all rather satisfied at the end of the year. When fresh meat was everywhere, it was really not easy to find a few fresh meat with good looks and acting skills. After watching Tomb Raiding and Slightly, Huamin was pleasantly surprised. When she walked out of the cinema, she was still talking about the plot with Qin Chu. "By the way, honey, I saw Rick when I was buying the tickets." "Really?" "Yeah, he should be with his girlfriend. I didn't expect to see him at the cinema. What a surprise, haha." "He's a normal man. What's there to be surprised about?" Qin Chu smiled. "Huh. You haven't eaten yet, right?" Huamin suddenly thought of a very serious problem. "Yeah." Qin Chu nodded. He had been busy for the entire afternoon and night. Originally, the mayor wanted to treat him to dinner. However, he rushed back in order to watch a movie with Huamin. He had been busy for more than 2 hours, so how could he have time to eat? There were in-flight meals on the private plane, but people's taste buds were slow at high altitudes. Therefore, Qin Chu basically didn't eat the food on the plane. That was why he was still hungry. "Why didn't you say so earlier? We could have watched it after dinner." Huamin looked at him with heartache. "It's okay. I'll accompany you first." "Are you an idiot?" Huamin angrily punched Qin Chu's shoulder. She was the first person in the world to call Qin Chu an idiot. She was also the only person who dared to call Qin Chu an idiot. She was also the only person who Qin Chu was willing to be an idiot for her. "It's okay if I'm an idiot, as long as I have a smart wife." Qin Chu continued to smile. "Did you put honey on your lips today?" Huamin felt warm inside. It was sweet to hear Mr. Qin say sweet things once in a while. "Let's go. I'll treat you to supper." Huamin generously pulled Qin Chu towards the food street next to the mall. There was a good Hunan cuisine restaurant there. Although it was a little spicy, it was delicious. Huamin excitedly pulled Qin in, but to her surprise, she saw Suyu as soon as she walked in. He, Tang Chuan, and a woman she didn't know were sitting at a table near the entrance. It was very eye-catching. Should we go to another restaurant? Huamin was very embarrassed. She could swear that she didn't know Suyu was here. What a fucking coincidence. Chapter 11:27. It's okay, it's nice here. Qin Shu held Huamin's hand and walked in confidently. Suyu and the others looked up and immediately saw the two of them. The moment Qin Shu and Suyu looked at each other, Qin Shu nodded as a greeting to Suyu. Suyu nodded and returned the greeting. Perhaps they were the most harmonious love rivals in history because they were both gentlemen, their methods were open and above-board, so the two of them respected each other. Suyu looked at Huamin again. Huamin also smiled and nodded then. Qin Shu and Huamin sat down in an empty seat, not too far away from each other. Damn, no way we bumped into each other like this. Lord Su, tell me the truth. Did you already know that they were going to eat here, so you came to wait for them? Tang Chuan joked with a smile. Do you think I'm that bored? Suyu rolled his eyes at him and asked in return. Then it just means that you guys have great chemistry, haha. Our sea city is so big, but you guys still managed to bump into each other like this. Suyu didn't respond. He just lowered his head and quietly ate. Every time Qin Shu and Huamian appeared in a place, he would always be the one being pitted. This was because Qin Shu and Huamin could use all sorts of tricks to torture single people at any time. And Suyu was that poor single person, Lord Su. Tang Chuan looked at Suyu with interest. If you have something to say, hurry up and say it. Suyu knew that if this guy called Lord Su with such a cheap smile, nothing good would come out of it. As expected, in my opinion, now that Old Wei is married, I don't lack female companions. As for the three musketeers, you're the only one who's been single for a long time. Why don't you find one too? Your company has been promoting a lot of newcomers recently. Isn't one of them a rare beauty that only appears once in 8,000 years? What's her name? Meng, and She's quite pretty. If you think it's not bad, then go ahead. Suyu replied without even lifting his eyelids. Ha, didn't she look down on me? I do want to pursue her. If not, Jian Tong is not bad. She's popular and has few scandals. I heard that many A-list male stars are interested in her, but she rejected them all. I feel that she has you in her heart. Are you Cupid? You can even see through my thoughts. Tang Chuan. Don't try to matchmake me. A few days ago, my old man arranged a blind date for me, and I was so annoyed. I finally finished the mission, and you're telling me this now. Next time you'll have to pay the bill. Don't. Ha, who can compete with you in terms of money? With your taste, one bottle of red wine would cost me a week's worth of pocket money. I'll stop talking. Tang Chuan immediately shut up. Tang Chuan wasn't like Wei Liao and Suyu. He didn't have his own business or a formal job. He wasn't exactly a rice worm. Anyways, he had a lot of people in his family, so he didn't have to work and could still earn money. However, he wasn't as rich as Suyu in Sea City. There were very few people who dared to compete with Suyu in terms of spending money. Of course, Qin Shu didn't count, because Mr. Qin didn't like to spend money. If he wanted to spend money, he would only spend it on Humin on the other side. Humin ordered 4 Hunan dishes for Qin Shu. She also ordered a bowl of rice for him. The two of them ate in silence. Honey, yeah? Qin Shu looked up. Will there be a day when you get tired of me and find another woman? Qin Shu. People say that if you eat too much fish and meat, you'll get sick of it. Sometimes you'll want to eat cabbage. I don't think I'm a big fish or meat. I'm just a cabbage. If you eat too much, will you also want to eat fish and meat? Huamin rested her chin on her hands and asked Qin Shu seriously. Chapter 11:28. I don't. Why not? Because I love eating cabbage. Qin Shu replied in all seriousness. Huamin burst out laughing. Why was her Mr. Qin so cute? Even when he was answering questions, he was so cute that it made people's faces bleed. It was almost 11:30 p.m. by the time they got home from dinner. Huamin was so sleepy that she fell asleep in the passenger seat, Just then, she received a WeChat message on her phone. Girl, are you asleep yet? Qin rarely looked at Huamin's phone, but when he glanced at it and saw that the person who sent the message was Huasiqian, he couldn't stay calm anymore. He held the steering wheel with one hand and took Huamin's phone with the other. He unlocked it and replied, "What's up? The old man is running out of money. I think he'll find you soon. When the time comes, no matter what tricks he uses, whether it's a sad drama or a father-daughter card, you have to stay calm." Got it, Qin immediately replied. He immediately understood that Huasiqian was talking to Huamin about Huaxinghai. It seemed like Jiang Hong and Huasiqian could wait to take over the Hua Corporation's assets, leaving Huaxinghai alone. Also, have you noticed anything strange at work recently? Huasiqian asked. What do you mean? Like, did anything strange happen? Huasiqian asked vaguely. However, Qin had a feeling that Huamin knew that someone was following him. I feel like I'm being followed, Qin purposely replied. He wanted to see how Huasiqian would react. Haha, you probably watched too many mysteries. Why would there be so many people following you? Huasiqian changed the topic. Then what strange things are you referring to? Qin asked on behalf of Huamin. It's nothing. Go to bed early. This world is full of surprises, waiting for you to discover them yourself. After that, Huasiqian stopped replying. Qin didn't ask any further. Huasiqian was standing in front of the bedroom window on the second floor with a glass of red wine in his hand. Huasiqian mumbled to himself, You little brat, how could you let someone else use your phone to send me a WeChat message? How unprofessional. Huasiqian was a very sensitive person, and he was especially careful. He was well aware of Huamin's reaction and tone when he sent him a WeChat message. He could see through anyone who pretended to be Huamin, but he knew Huamin too well over the years. He originally wanted to reveal something to the brat, but if Qin was here, he wouldn't say anything. After all, the incident had nothing to do with Qin. It was Huamin's personal business. If Huamin found out one day that that person came to Sea City and even visited her at the hospital, she would definitely be shocked. She would probably be very, very surprised, right? Xiqian, you're still awake. Jiang Hong's voice came from behind him. The door was open, so when Jiang Hong woke up in the middle of the night to smoke, she saw Huasiqian still awake. Mom. Huasiqian turned around with a smile on his face. Why aren't you asleep? I can't sleep. Me too. I don't know what's going on, but my head keeps hurting. Jiang Hong walked in with a cigarette between her fingers. Huaxinghai hadn't been home in a long time. Ever since Shen Jiani's accident, he heard that Huasiqian had another sugar baby. It seemed like he wanted to have a child at an old age. After all, Huasi was someone else's child, which was a huge blow to him. Jiang Hong was used to Huaxinghai being like this. She didn't marry him out of love. I'll make an appointment with a Chinese doctor to give you a massage. Jiang Hong nodded and then continued, Xiqian, how's the company going? Everything is in place. We're just waiting for the old man to ask for help. If Huamin doesn't help him, then everything will be settled. Then will Huamin help him? Jiang Hong asked with a smile. Chapter 11:29. What do you think? Huasiqian asked back. Then, the mother and son looked at each other and smiled. They both knew that there was no way Huamin would help Huaxinghai. Oh, right after you take care of business. Hurry up and get married. Marriage is sometimes the best way to do business. We don't need to find someone better than us, but we need to be on par with them. That's the only way to ensure that the Hua family's business will last for 100 years, Jiang Hong reminded him. Don't worry, Mom. I already have a goal in mind. After I take care of business, I'll immediately start preparing. You have a goal? Who is it? Don't tell me it's Immerse. Jiang Hong was a little surprised.
No.
Then I don't have to worry. You can play with the women in the entertainment industry. Don't get too serious. We still need to focus on our careers. Jiang Hong patted Huasiqian's shoulder meaningfully.
Okay.
Huasiqian nodded obediently. The next morning at South Hill Manor, Qin and Huamin woke up early to eat breakfast. Honey, we're going back to Second High tomorrow. I'll have someone deliver the custom-made uniforms today. Uniforms? Why are you so serious? Huamin couldn't help but laugh. Of course, the uniforms now aren't as silly as the ones we had back then.
They're all pretty outfits now.
Since we're going to experience life, we need to be well prepared. Qin Shu seemed to place a lot of importance on this Back to 17 event, so he prepared a lot of things for Huamin. Then do you have backpacks?
Yeah.
Wow, what else do you have? Hurry up and tell me. I'm looking forward to it. There's also Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling. Really? Huamin was pleasantly surprised. Yeah, Gao Ran was invited too. After all, he's the captain of the Municipal Bureau's criminal police force. Zhu Lingling is just an ordinary flight attendant and doesn't have much of a career, but she's Captain Gao's girlfriend, so she's also going. Oh yeah, that's awesome. It looks like our high school days are going to be reborn. Huamin's face was filled with anticipation. Just as the two of them were chatting happily, Uncle Lee suddenly walked over and reported, "Sir, madam, there's someone outside." He said he wants to see madam. He's driving a black Mercedes 60. Is the license plate number UF 5828? Huamin asked. Uncle Lee nodded. Huamin glanced at Qin Shu and said, "It's Hu Zhenghai's car. Let him in." Qin Shu gracefully picked up a white handkerchief and wiped his hands. Then, Uncle Lee used the walkie-talkie to inform the guards at the door to let them in. The black Mercedes-Benz slowly drove into South Hill Manor. It was Hu Zhenghai's first time here. He had always known that they lived in Imperial Park. Later, he asked around and found out that she had moved away, so he drove here. It was still early, not even 7 o'clock. Since Hu Zhenghai was here so early, there must be something going on. Huamin didn't see Hu Xiqian's WeChat message from yesterday, so naturally, he didn't know what was going on. Qin Shu deleted that conversation because he didn't want Hu Xiqian's words to confuse Huamin. Why is he here so early? Huamin took a sip of milk and looked at Qin Shu worriedly. He probably wants to talk to you about something, Qin Shu replied calmly. Mian. Shu, you guys moved, I had to go over there. As soon as Hu Zhenghai walked in, he began to talk to Huamin and Qin Shu. Mian?
Shu?
Was that his name? What can I do for you? Huamin asked directly. I do have something to talk to you guys about, but it's not urgent. Hu Zhenghai smiled awkwardly. But we're in a hurry. We have to leave for work at 7:20, or else we'll be late. You still have 20 minutes, so do you want to have breakfast first? Huamin asked, word for word. I'll skip breakfast, then I'll get straight to the point. Mian, my company is in a bit of trouble. Last night, one of the project managers took the money and fled to Australia. Today, our partner called and said that if the money isn't in place, they'll sue us for breach of contract. But right now, we don't have that much money, so we're in a bit of a pinch, Hu Zhenghai said, slightly troubled. So? Huamin looked up at him and asked calmly. Chapter 1130. So, can you lend me some working capital? As soon as you're in trouble, I'll pay you back immediately. Speaking of which, Hu Zhenghai was in a tough spot. He had lived a glorious life and had countless mistresses, but in the end, he had to ask for money from a daughter he never acknowledged. Now that he thought about it, it was truly ironic. Huamin glanced at Qin Shu. Although he didn't say anything, the look in his eyes said it all. You should know, I'm just a nurse. Even if I add up all my salary over the years, I probably won't be able to afford it. Huamin tactfully refused. Mian, I know you're in a tough spot, but what I meant was, can you ask my son-in-law to transfer some money from GK to me? Hu Zhenghai looked at Qin Shu with a troubled expression. Son-in-law? Huamin felt like vomiting when he heard those two words back then. He didn't even acknowledge his daughter, but now he was acknowledging his son-in-law. What if the person she married wasn't Qin Shu, but old Wang from next door? Would Hu Zhenghai still be so eager to acknowledge him as his son-in-law? Qin Shu was silent for a few seconds before he slowly said, We do have the money, but GK doesn't belong to me alone. If we want to use a large amount of money, we have to go through the board of directors, and my father has to be there to approve it. It's a very troublesome process, and it might not even pass in the end. If you're not afraid of the trouble, why don't you come with me to the board of directors? Tell them about your situation and see what they decide. Hu Zhenghai was obviously at a loss for words. He was, after all, a man of status. How could he shamelessly go to the board of directors with Humian? Wouldn't it be obvious that he was a joke? Oh, then it's okay. I'll think of something else. Then, Hu Zhenghai hurriedly left. Honey, good job. Humin stood up and smiled. Yesterday, Hu Xiqian sent you a WeChat message, but you were asleep, so I didn't tell you. I'll delete it after I tell you.
Oh?
What did he say? Humin was curious. He only said that Hu Zhenghai might ask for help everywhere, so you shouldn't help him. How is that possible? Humin didn't need him to tell me that. I wouldn't help Hu Zhenghai unless I lost my mind. Humin smiled. As for what Hu Xiqian had said, Qin Chu didn't tell Humin. He felt that Hu Xiqian might use that incident to threaten Humin in the future. He seemed to know more about Humin's background than anyone else. As for Humin, he was most concerned about his own background. Hu Xiqian was able to find out that he was being followed for no reason. Even Rick couldn't find out about it. Hu Xiqian was really something. In order to prevent Humin's imagination from running wild, Qin Chu ultimately chose to conceal the truth. This was also beneficial to Humin. After rejecting Hu Zhenghai's request to borrow money, the couple went to work together. Qin Chu and Humin drove one after the other. Qin Chu drove Humin all the way to Southside before leaving. On the way to GK, Qin Chu put on his earpiece and dialed a number.
Hello.
Rick, keep an eye on Hu Xiqian for me. Hu Xiqian? What's wrong? Rick was surprised. He seems to know a lot of things more than we know, but he won't tell us everything. He's always trying to be mysterious, so I think there's something fishy about him. Okay, I understand. Rick was a straightforward person, so he immediately understood what Qin Chu meant. When Humin arrived at Southside, he had just finished cleaning up and had a morning meeting when Qinjia ran over in a hurry. Chief, someone booked you for emergency treatment. Chapter 11:31. This early? Humin glanced at his watch. It wasn't even 8:30 a.m. yet. Normally, your consultation starts in the afternoon, but this patient wants to see your number. Do you want to take it? Qinjia asked Humin. Yes, don't let the patient wait for nothing. Ever since Humin mysteriously disappeared from the clinic, Qinjia had been by his side the entire time. 10 minutes later, a haggard woman in her 30s walked into the clinic. She looked delicate and pretty, but her face was slightly pale. Please take a seat, Humin looked up and said to the woman. Then, she picked up the woman's medical record and looked at it. She was surprised. Intermittent mental illness, normally speaking, mental patients weren't part of her treatment. There were specialized mental hospitals in the city, and Humin's patients had depression, mania, ADHD, and sleep disorders. Most of them were mental illnesses, and mental illness wasn't a mental illness. It was a dangerous patient. Normally, she could refuse to diagnose the patient. However, Humin looked at the woman's expression and felt sorry for her, so he didn't refuse. You're Ms. Wang, right? The woman nodded. Intermittent mental illness? How long have you had this illness? Humin asked. More than 3 years. The woman seemed to be normal when she answered. Do you have a family history? Does that mean you have this type of patient in your family?
No.
Then you're the first one?
Yes.
The woman nodded. Do you have any specific symptoms? Can you describe them for me? For example, do you still remember what kind of extreme behavior you did when you were sick?
No.
Then what's the cause of this illness? Has your attending doctor examined you before? He said it was because of mental stress. What kind of mental stress do you have? Does it come from work or life? Humin asked carefully. At the same time, Qinjia took out a small notebook and recorded some important details. The woman paused for a moment and said slowly, both. Ever since I got sick, I resigned and have been staying at home. Are you married? Do you have any children? I'm married. I don't have any children. Humin nodded. Actually, your attending doctor diagnosed you with intermittent psychosis. You should go to a psychiatric hospital. After all, they are more authoritative. Although I'm a neurologist, I mostly treat mental illnesses. Humin earnestly advised the patient, but I don't think I'm mentally ill. Maybe they misdiagnosed me. Our neighbor's child has depression. I heard that it's a very difficult disease to treat, but after being treated by you for almost a month, he's already getting better. I wanted to try and see if you could help me. Judging from the woman's current attitude and logical thinking, she didn't seem like a mental patient at all, who more or less knew that intermittent psychosis was an occasional attack. People with intermittent psychosis were troublesome because they didn't know when it would happen. People with intermittent psychosis were like ticking time bombs. Huamin looked up at her and said, I can help you, but I don't know exactly what you're like when you're ill. Patients with intermittent psychosis like you don't know when you're ill, so I can't keep waiting, right? That's not a solution. Although I don't know what I'm like when I'm ill, I heard from my husband that I recorded a short video of him.
You can watch it.
Maybe you'll understand after you watch it. Then, the woman took out her phone from her pocket. Chenjia looked at the woman cautiously, afraid that she would take something dangerous out of her bag. Chapter 1132. She took out a phone with a big screen, opened a video, and handed it to Huamin. A man was recording himself on his phone. He said, My wife's condition is like this. When she's sick, she thinks she's a 5-year-old girl, and she even has a name. She calls herself Nancy, and then she does things like a 5-year-old girl. She doesn't remember who she is, and she likes to eat lollipops. When she sees me, she calls me uncle, and she cries. Sometimes, when she's riding a bicycle, she suddenly falls down, saying that she's just a child and doesn't know how to ride a bicycle. This really brings a lot of inconvenience to our lives. My mother once suspected that she was possessed by a ghost. Because my wife accidentally got pregnant due to work, she secretly aborted the baby. Later, when she wanted to have another child, she couldn't. More than a year later, she suddenly became like this. I don't know if that child came to take revenge, but it didn't work. After watching this video, Huamin sucked in a breath of cold air. That's basically what happened. My husband said that every time I'm sick, I'm like a child, as if I'm possessed by a ghost. It's very scary, but I don't feel anything at all. After watching this video, Huamin slowly placed his phone on the table. You're indeed not possessed by a ghost. In fact, you're not suffering from intermittent mental illness, Huamin slowly said. Then what is it? The woman was obviously stunned for a moment. If I'm not wrong, your condition should be called dissociative identity disorder. It means that you have 2 souls living in one body. Your other personality is that of a little girl. If I'm not wrong, you probably felt guilty after the abortion. Later, when you wanted a child, you couldn't. You were anxious, so you created a little girl for yourself and lived in your body. This is actually a type of illusion, but you forced this illusion on yourself. Yes, that's right. There was a time when I really wanted a baby. I was under a lot of pressure. I drank a lot of Chinese medicine and saw a lot of doctors. I tried a lot of folk methods, but none of them worked. I couldn't sleep. Sometimes, when I fell asleep, I would dream that I was pregnant and gave birth. The woman seemed a little emotional as she grabbed Huamin's hand. Chen Jia immediately rushed over, took her hand away, and pushed her back. Madam, please calm down and keep your distance from our director. After all, the patient was a mental patient, so the assistant was very concerned about Huamin's safety. In your situation, drugs alone won't do. You need to find a good psychologist to hypnotize you, to make you feel better, and get rid of the extra personality in your body. Then what should we do? Chief Hua, if you can cure me, money won't be a problem. The woman was pleasantly surprised. It's not about money. The key is that I don't have that much time to treat you every day, and I can't hypnotize you. I'm not a psychological hypnotist, but I can find someone to help you, but you have to cooperate with us. Okay. I'll do it. After prescribing some sedatives for the patient, the assistant, Chen Jia, sent the patient away. Huamin called Jiang Xiaowei and asked her to introduce a reliable psychological hypnotist to her. If Xiaowei wasn't pregnant, Huamian would definitely be able to do it. However, now that Xiaowei was pregnant, it was impossible for her to come into contact with mental patients. Even when she went out to buy groceries, she needed 4 bodyguards. The Wei family really invested a lot. Apparently, the 2 elders of the Wei family said that if Jiang Xiaowei gave birth to a daughter, they would give her a mansion worth tens of millions of yuan. If she gave birth to a son, they would give her a mansion worth hundreds of millions of yuan. It was obvious how important a son was to a rich family. Although men and women were equal, there had always been a preference for boys over girls. Saturday morning, Qin Chu and Huimin both changed into their school uniforms and drove to Second High. It was the peak time for students to go to school in the morning. Huimin had a ponytail and wore a black miniskirt with black leggings underneath. She wore a high-quality cashmere coat on top of her school uniform. She looked extremely youthful and beautiful. Qin Chu also wore a black cashmere coat for boys. Both of them carried single-shoulder backpacks. In an instant, it was as if they had traveled back in time to 7 years ago. "Hey, which class are you two from? If you don't go in, you'll be late. Hurry up." The old man at the door yelled fiercely. Huimin and Qin Chu looked at each other and smiled. Then they ran in together. Chapter 1133. When Huimin and Qin Chu walked in, they were assigned to different classes by the principal because they wanted to experience life. Therefore, they really treated them like high school students and blended into the group. Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling were the same. Apparently, there were 10 successful people who came back this time. Other than the 4 of them, 6 other people came back and were assigned to different classes. Huimin was assigned to sophomore class 8. Apparently, this was the elite class, the experimental class of high school. Qin Chu was assigned to senior year 5, and Gao Ran was assigned to senior year 9. Zhu Lingling, on the other hand, was a little more pitiful. She was in senior year 2, with a bunch of juniors who hadn't even been in school for a semester. She left high school for 7 years. Now that she came back like this, it was truly amazing. When the sophomore year 8 homeroom teacher walked in with Huimin, they attracted the curious gazes of the 30 or so people in the class. Huimin didn't want to reveal her identity, so she wore black-rimmed glasses to cover it up. "Students, this is a transfer student from another school. She's only here for 1 day, so please take good care of her." "Hey, pretty girl, which school are you from?" a naughty boy asked fearlessly. Huimin pursed her lips and smiled, but she didn't answer. "Okay, stop talking nonsense and start studying. There's a math mock exam in a bit," the homeroom teacher said. Everyone was sighing in despair. High school life was really like they were test machines. Basically, there was a small exam every 3 days, a big exam every 5 days, plus a weekly exam, a monthly exam, a midterm exam, and the damn final exam. Therefore, people who didn't study hard in high school and only dated, didn't they have the nerve to waste their time? Huimin was assigned to sit in the 3rd row by the homeroom teacher. Beside her was a chubby boy with glasses. Coming back to 17 was a secret event. Other than the school and the participants, no one else knew about it. Therefore, the other students thought that they were really students. Most students didn't care about who the president of GK was or young Master Su of Imperial Star Entertainment. In the eyes of most of these children, there was only school, reading, self-study, and some little psychological thoughts. It was Huimin's first day back home. Everything was new to him, and there were only a few books in his bag. "Hey, classmate, which classmate are you from?" Xinhua High School. Huimin made up a random story. "Xinhua? My family also has relatives who go to school there. Which class are you in?" The little fatty persisted. Huimin suddenly had an idea and made a shushing gesture. "Hurry up and study. The teacher will be here soon." "Oh, okay." As expected, the little fatty was convinced by Huimin with just 1 sentence. Then he lowered his head and started to read. "Why do you want to come to our class? Don't you know that we are the experimental class? In a while, when we do the paper, we will all score 90 points. If only she scores 60 points, won't it be very ugly?" Some girls whispered. The girls in the experimental class had a strong sense of superiority, so they didn't welcome Huimin, who was an outsider.
"Don't talk.
Once the results come out, she will know how to embarrass herself." A few girls were studying it in low voices. Huimin didn't say anything. He took out a book and pretended to read. Then, he secretly took out his phone and sent Qin Chu a WeChat message. "Mr. Qin, what's the situation on your end? I'm going to start my exam soon." Qin Chu didn't have time to reply to Huimin's WeChat message. Grade 12 Class 5 was about to explode. A handsome guy came to their class. He was so good-looking that he couldn't be any prettier. Celebrities and little fresh meats were nothing compared to him. The homeroom teacher had just arranged a seat for Chin Chu when he sat down. All the girls in the class swarmed over. Handsome, which school are you from? Chapter 1134. Handsome, are you really only staying for one day? Why is it only one day? Stay, our second high is great. Yeah, our second high is the best high school in the city. Did you know that? The most famous one is GK's president, Chin Chu, and his wife, Huimin, graduated from our school. Handsome, did you not bring your notes? I can lend them to you, I have a few. Hey, if you're not used to sitting here, I can ask the teacher to change your seat. You can sit in the front with me. It's closer to the blackboard. The girls crowded around him, and Chin Chu didn't know what to do. It was his first time pretending to be a high school student at the age of 27. But he didn't feel out of place at all. He was even younger than many of the boys in his class, leaving him no room to maneuver. Hey, what's your name? Chin.
Ran.
Chin Chu paused for a second, and then stole Gao Ran's name. Huimin, on the other hand, changed her name to Huilingling. Zhu Lingling had no choice but to give herself a superstar name, Zhu Huiyuan. Gao Ran changed his name to Chin Chu and said his name was Gao Chu. These high school kids were indeed naive. They actually believed him. Chin Chu was surrounded by a group of girls and didn't have time to reply to Huimin's WeChat. Gao Ran was like a fish in water in grade 12 class 9. He played a game of basketball with his classmates as soon as he entered the class. He befriended many boys and charmed a bunch of girls. Zhu Lingling, on the other hand, felt rather awkward. She took off her jacket and prepared to study seriously. She took off her jacket and was about to take off her jacket when she heard a boy behind her ask in a low voice, "Are you really a high school student? Is there a problem?" Zhu Lingling turned around and asked him, "You're developing well." The boy glanced at Zhu Lingling's with a faint smile. She was so angry that she rolled up her English book and smacked the boy's head. Not everyone had a 34D, okay? It was clearly an advantage, but why was he being mocked in school? Besides, even 7 years ago, her breasts weren't small. They had always been bigger than Huimin's. At that time, she often joked that Huimin was the little princess of typing. Huimin, on the other hand, respectfully addressed her as Sister Cow. Thinking back to those incomparably happy and incomparably stupid days back then, it was actually quite good. If it weren't for this opportunity, perhaps they really wouldn't have been able to regain their youth. Math exams were deadly for many girls. This was because there were very few girls who were good at math. On the other hand, boys were more interested in things like blood transfusions and physics. Girls usually excelled in languages, history, and politics. Huimin's class was not only an experimental class, it was also a science class. Back then, she had also been randomly assigned. She had never thought that she would end up in such an elite class. Fortunately, it was her. If it were Lingling, she would probably have a headache. After a math exam, Huimin felt no pressure at all. Not only did she hand in her paper early, but she also went out for a walk, walking a big circle around the field. It was a great feeling during lunch break. All the students went to the cafeteria for lunch. In order to pretend that they didn't know each other, they couldn't sit at the same table and had to sit separately. After Huimin got her lunch, she saw Chin Chu surrounded by a group of girls from afar. This is crazy. It wasn't like this back in school, Huimin said sourly. Just then, a boy sat down across from her. Hi. The boy greeted her. Huimin glanced at him. He seemed to be in the same class as her. Chapter 1135. Hi. Huimin greeted him. The food in the cafeteria is pretty good. You should eat more, or else you'll be hungry in the afternoon, the boy reminded him. Thank you. Not far away, Chin Chu got up and inadvertently glanced over. He saw Huimin and a boy sitting across from each other, chatting and laughing. He couldn't sit still anymore. He got up and pushed through the crowd, walking over with food in his hands. Along the way, he attracted a lot of screams and onlookers. Can you get up for a second? Chin Chu looked at the boy and asked. Why should I? The boy seemed very reluctant. Because I want to eat with her. Chin-Chu glanced at Huimin. I want to eat with her too. The boy didn't seem to want to back down. Chin-Chu took out a meal card from his pocket and threw it on the table with a smack. There's a balance of 5,000 yuan here. You can take it and get out of my way. Ugh. Seeing the 5,000 yuan meal card, the boy was stunned. What did a 5,000 yuan meal card mean? Even if he ate braised meatballs and sweet and sour carp every day, he wouldn't be overloaded. Deal. The boy picked up the meal card and immediately ran away. Chin-Chu strutted over and sat across from Huimin. Students these days are so spineless. Huimin smiled and sighed. Then, she looked at Chin-Chu and smiled. Hey rich guy, can you give me one? I can get out of here, right away. Honey, don't mess around. Chin-Chu was full of love. Shu, lower your voice. Don't let anyone hear you. We're exchange students now, so we don't know each other. Chin-Chu couldn't help but smile at Huimin. You're so into character. On the other hand, Zhu Lingling was very popular. Because of her big breasts and pretty face, she successfully became the prettiest girl in class too. She was loved by her juniors, however. When she occasionally stuttered when answering the teacher's questions, she wasn't very good. Gao Ran, on the other hand, was not only a straight-A student but also a sportsman. He was proficient in basketball and table tennis. Zhu Lingling looked at him and said sourly, "This idiot. Why didn't he just go to the gym? Why did he come here?" In the end, Gao Ran retorted bluntly, "I really want to fuck a stupid bird like you. Fuck. I'm going to skin you alive." Hey, pay attention to your image. You're the prettiest girl in class too, Gao Ran reminded her. Zhu Lingling immediately put away her violent image and smiled. I won't lower myself to your level. The fact that Chin-Chu and Huimin were having a meal together attracted a lot of students' opinions, especially the girls from grade 12 class 5. They were so angry that their eyes turned red. Isn't that girl also an exchange student? She doesn't look that good. Why should our handsome guy eat with her? Maybe they know each other. Someone guessed. Huimin endured the pressure and finished his lunch. Then, he ran away with his tail between his legs. He wanted to go back to his classroom in the corner, but he didn't expect to run into someone he knew by the stairs. Wei Dong. If they didn't run into each other this time, Huimin would have almost forgotten about Wei Dong. Back at Lu Xiying's wedding, the two of them had an argument. Huimin didn't help him, so Wei Dong had a falling out with him. So, when they met, Huimin was only surprised for a second and didn't plan on speaking. The Wei family was a nouveau riche, so it wasn't surprising that Wei Dong came back to experience life. There was also a young girl by his side. It seemed like he just got her. The two of them were chatting in a quiet place. Wei Dong had always been good at flirting with girls. However, he didn't expect to see Huimin hear you too. Wei Dong didn't finish his sentence because he remembered that this was confidential.
Yeah.
Huimin nodded, but his attitude was very distant. Then, Huimin turned around and was about to go upstairs. He called out to her. What's up? I'm sorry about last time. I was too impulsive last time. I'm sorry, I don't remember. Then, Huimin turned around and went upstairs. Hey, you know her? The young girl looked at Wei Dong and asked. Oh, she's my neighbor. Wei Dong made up a story. The first class in the afternoon was still math. Their homeroom teacher was also a math teacher. She walked in with a thick stack of papers. I'm so nervous. They're about to announce the morning's results, a classmate beside her whispered. Huimin quietly looked at the blackboard. His expression was extremely calm. Chapter 1136. The homeroom teacher in high school was more ruthless because she would read out your test results out loud. That way, everyone in the class would know your score. Zhang Xiaoxia, 92. The teacher handed over a test paper, and a small girl in the first row took it with her head lowered. Wang Mian, 96. Li Mingxi, 91. Wang Xiao, 95. He Xian, 96. The teacher called out their names one by one. Huimin couldn't help but admire these juniors. They were indeed from the experimental class. It wasn't easy to get a score of 90 and above on such difficult questions. What was even more difficult was that the entire class scored 90 and above. The standard was too high, as expected of the experimental class. After the teacher gave out all the papers, there were still 2 more in her hand. Other than Huimin's, there was 1 more student who didn't get his. Du Hongguang 100, the teacher said. The entire class suddenly burst into applause. A delicate-looking boy with slightly long hair walked up and silently took the paper. Getting a score of 100 on such difficult math questions was simply the craziest of the craziest. Everyone couldn't help but look at him with admiration. Then, the teacher looked at Huimin and said, Hualingling 100. The entire class was silent. Everyone seemed to be waiting for this auditing student score. The girls were waiting to laugh at this newcomer. The boys were waiting with anticipation. What was this girl's score? In school, there were only 2 things to be proud of. One was their looks, and the other was their scores. Hualingling 100. After the teacher said that, Huimin stood up to take the test paper as expected. The entire class was shocked. How is that possible? Could it be a mistake? Could it be that our teacher purposely went easy on her?
Huh.
Do you think she plagiarized Du Hongguang's paper? That's impossible. They're worlds apart. Unless Sun Wukong has sharp eyes, how else could she copy? Everyone was talking about it one after another. Huimin calmly took the test paper and walked back to her seat. Wow, not bad. The chubby boy sitting next to her gave her a thumbs up. Huimin had never done some of these questions before, but they were not difficult for her. Since she chose to study medicine, it proved that her science grades were quite good. It wasn't surprising that he got 100. The questions I set this time are very difficult. They are beyond your comprehension, especially the last question. I didn't expect 2 students to get full marks. They are Du Hongguang and Hualingling. Let's give them a round of applause. After the homeroom teacher finished speaking, there was a warm round of applause after math class. The little fatty came over again and gossiped. Hey, are you really a student from Xinhua?
Yeah.
Huimin nodded guiltily. But does Xinhua have such a top student? In the entire Sea City, our school is the best. Du Hongguang is a super top student. He's almost inhuman. I always thought that no one could compare to him. How are you so good? It's a shame that you're in Xinhua. You came to my class and saw that our school's environment and teaching are top-notch. Why don't you just transfer here? Don't go back. The chubby boy seemed to have a good impression of Huimin and kept trying to persuade her to transfer schools. Huimin smiled but didn't say anything then. She glanced at the boy who also got 100 points. After class, everyone else was playing, but he was still studying. Is he always like that? Huimin asked curiously. Yeah, his family isn't very well off. He used to study in the countryside, but because his grades were so good, our school made an exception and accepted him. They even gave him free tuition and books. I heard that his family is very poor, and he has a few siblings. He's also very frugal with his living expenses. He rarely eats meat and only eats vegetables and potatoes every day. The chubby boy rambled on, however. Huimin's heart ached as she listened to him. Just then, there was a commotion at the door, and many girls surrounded them. At some point, Qin Chu was standing at the door. Please call Hualingling from your class, Qin Chu said calmly to one of the girls at the door. Qin Chu wasn't used to her suddenly changing her name. Chapter 1137. Okay. Handsome, please wait for a second. I'll get her for you. The girl at the door nodded, flattered, and turned around to walk into the classroom. Hualingling, someone's looking for you at the door. Oh, okay. Huimin slowly got up and walked to the door. Only then did she see Qin Chu in the middle of the crowd. Why are you here? She lowered her voice and asked. Qin Chu picked up a bag of food and handed it to her. What's this? Huimin was a little dumbfounded. Your favorite food. Huimin took the bag of snacks and found that it was filled with her favorite foods. Donuts, lollipops, potato chips, sour plum juice, etc. All of a sudden, it brought back all of her beautiful memories back then. Huimin had a little quirk. She liked to eat carrots. She would buy them, wash them, and eat them raw. Everyone else ate fruits, but she ate carrots. She was even mocked by her classmates for being a rabbit back then. Even though her family wasn't rich, they weren't thrifty. So, Huamin didn't like carrots to save money. She really liked them. They were crunchy, sweet, and delicious. Sure enough, under the bag, she saw a few carrots that she hadn't seen in a long time. Thank you, Senior Qin. In order not to expose their identities, Qin Chu pretended to be a couple. In front of the other students, Huamin put on a show and bowed deeply to Qin Chu. Her acting was so realistic that she was speechless. Qin Chu narrowed his eyes and looked at Huamin with a faint smile on his face. You're welcome. After he finished speaking, he lovingly patted her head and turned around. Once again, the girls screamed, Wow, you know this super handsome guy? I just found out that he's also here today. He's in grade 12, class 5. Do you guys know each other? A girl asked curiously. We're actually from the same school. No way? He's also from Xianhua High? But was there such a handsome man in Xinhua? The third-year seniors said that this almighty is a top student. All the papers he did in the morning scored 100. Why is Xinhua so good? Naive high school students blindly believed that Huamin and Qin Chu were really classmates from other schools who came to listen in. Huamin actually felt quite guilty. She never liked to lie to others. Fortunately, it was a white lie this. Let's share it. My treat. He handed over the snacks in his hand. The female students immediately snatched up all the seats. They didn't care if the food was delicious or not. What they cared about was that super handsome senior who bought it. Huamin washed the carrots and returned to his seat. Do you want one? Huamin asked with a smile as he looked at the little fatty beside him.
Gosh.
This is the first time I've seen someone eat carrots like fruits. Is that really okay? The little fatty looked at Huamin with a strange expression. I think it's better than fruits. It's sweet and crunchy. Most importantly, it provides vitamins, haha. After speaking, Huamin cutely took a bite. She was glad that she only had 1 day of school experience. Otherwise, if she stayed for 3 to 5 days, Qin Chu would definitely come looking for her every day. By then, all the other students would probably think that they were dating. Just like 7 years ago, they knew that dating was prohibited, but they still flaunted it. The school knew that they violated the school rules, but they didn't punish them. The teacher even warned them to keep a low profile. This was because Qin Chu and Huamin were both top students in the teacher's words. If they got full marks in every subject, she would allow them to date. Therefore, if they dated during high school and didn't interfere with their studies, they were definitely good seedlings. A happy and fulfilling day came to an end when the school bell rang. All the students excitedly packed up their things and got up. Huolingling, are you still coming to self-study at night? The little fatty asked reluctantly. No, I'm going home. Then, are you coming to class tomorrow? No, I'm going back to where I came from. Then, will we see each other again? The little fatty asked. Chapter 1138. Maybe we'll meet again soon. Huamin smiled mysteriously and turned to leave. Huolingling, this is for you. A boy stuffed a piece of paper into her hand and left. Huolingling, what's your WeChat ID? I want to add you. A boy with a bright face asked shyly. I don't have WeChat, I don't use it. Huamin lied guiltily again. Huolingling, what's your phone number? Another boy poked his head out and asked playfully with his tongue sticking out. Huamin was worried about how to answer. It was understandable that she didn't use WeChat, but if she said that she didn't have a phone number, she would be lying. Just then, her savior arrived. Huamin. Zhu Lingling waved her hand from not far away, almost revealing Huamin's name to everyone. Hearing Zhu Lingling call her name, Huamin immediately ran over. How are you feeling today? Huamin asked her. Very good. It's just that my juniors keep saying that I don't look like a high school student because of my big breasts. It's so depressing. I explained to them that I'm a very well-developed high school student. Ha ha. Huamin laughed like a flower. What about you?
How are you?
Pretty good. I did a lot of papers and got to know some of my classmates. They're really innocent. I don't even have the heart to lie to them. Huamin held a carrot in her hand and munched on it as she walked. Wow, carrots. I can tell that Mr. Qin made them, right? How did you know? Huamin looked at Zhu Lingling in confusion, feeling that it was very strange. Other than Mr. Qin, who else would spoil you like this? Huamin smiled when she heard this indeed. There was probably no other man in the world who loved her as much as Chin Chu did. But at the same time, there was no other woman in the world who loved Chin Chu more than she did. This kind of bone-deep love was mutual. The two of them walked out of the school hand in hand, and walked for a long time. It was to avoid the gazes of those students and avoid exposing his identity. Chin Chu posted the details of the car stop in their WeChat group. Humin and Zhu Lingling walked through a small alley and found GK's Mercedes-Benz RV. When he opened the car door and went in, Gao Ran and Chin Chu were already there. The two of them leisurely held their wine glasses. "Welcome back, beautiful ladies," Gao Ran said with a smile. "Bullshit. Why didn't you come to my class to see me? Did you get charmed by a junior in high school?" Zhu Lingling pulled Gao Ran's ear and lectured him as soon as she got into the car. "I swear to God, I played basketball all afternoon. You, on the other hand, I saw 3 or 4 boys surrounding you from afar, and you purposely stuck out your chest."
What do you mean by that?
Gao Ran retorted. The difference was that Humin got into the car and sat right next to Chin Chu. Then, Chin Chu picked up his wine glass and put it next to Humin's mouth. "Honey, you've worked hard,"
Chin Chu said dotingly.
Humin took a sip of wine and then leaned on Chin Chu's shoulder. "Damn. Look at them, look at us." Gao Ran felt like the atmosphere wasn't right. Why did he and Zhu Lingling always have to be rude to each other or get physical? Meanwhile, Chin Chu and Humin were always entangled with each other, like he was the wind and she was the sand. This didn't feel right. "Don't try to change the subject. Tell me, did you do anything with that long-legged girl from the 9th class today?" "I swear, I'm innocent." Gao Ran covered his head and explained. "You two, stop messing around. Let's go eat. I'm starving." Humin reminded them with a smile. "Okay, what's Mr. Chin going to treat us to? He's super rich. He can scam us however he wants. Why don't he treat us to a seafood feast?" Gao Ran turned around with a smile. Chin Chu smiled but didn't say anything. He only said to the driver in front of him, "Let's go." Humin looked out the window in boredom. Suddenly, she remembered that she received a note when she walked out. So, she took it out of the study room and opened it in front of everyone. Chin Chu glanced at the words on the note and slowly read it for her. "Can we date?" Humin was immediately embarrassed. She immediately tore up the note and threw it out the window. Then, she placed her right hand on her forehead. "So, Lady Chin, can you explain what's going on?" Chin Chu lowered his head and whispered into her ear. Chapter 1139. "Huh? I think it was for someone else and I took the wrong one," Humin immediately explained. "Our girl is so popular. She's not stunning, but she's a straight-A student. Straight-A students are so rare." Zhu Longlong smiled as she held onto Humin's hand intimately. The 4 of them then took a Mercedes-Benz RV to a high-end restaurant in the city center and ordered seafood. As Humin and Chin Chu chatted, they suddenly remembered something. "Honey, how much did you donate to our alma mater this time?" "I donated 30 million yuan to the school's hardware to build a library, a computer lab, and a science lab."
"Oh."
Humin nodded thoughtfully. "What's wrong?" Chin Chu could tell that something was on Humin's mind, so he asked softly. "When I went to the 12th grade this time, I met a junior who was a straight-A student. He studied in the countryside, but his grades were so good that second high school made an exception and gave him free tuition and books. It's just that his family isn't very well off, so he doesn't eat well, and his stationery isn't very good either. I think it's a pity." After Humin finished speaking, Chin Chu immediately understood what she meant. "Then I'll donate another 20 million yuan to the needy students of second high school to improve their food, stationery, and other daily necessities." Humin nodded, "But we have to be strict with this money. There's no guarantee that the school won't do something fishy and not give enough to the students, or that the students who really need it won't be able to apply for it. So, I think our company can send someone to take care of this matter." "Okay." Chin Chu nodded. Humin especially admired straight-A students who were good at their studies, especially those who didn't have good conditions but still worked hard. She really hoped that with their financial support, more children with dreams and ambitions would have a better tomorrow. He didn't want their future to be held back because of money. After the four of them finished eating, they walked out. However, they didn't expect to bump into Song Yisher, who came with her friends at the door. Her face was flushed from the alcohol. She drove the white Audi Q5. In fact, with Song Yisher's family's wealth, she could drive a sports car worth millions. However, because her father was an official and her identity was sensitive, she had to keep a low profile. After Qin Chu and Huamin moved away, she also sold the house in Imperial Park. Now that Lady Qin was ignoring her, she couldn't get close to Qin Chu. Therefore, she had been eating, drinking, and playing with her so-called best friends for the past few days. Before they came to eat seafood, they had already played in the bar for a while and drank a lot. Someone suggested that they eat seafood, so they drove here drunk. She didn't expect to see Qin Chu and Huamin here, so her expression was a little complicated. Qin Chu didn't intend to greet her. He put one hand on Huamin's shoulder and walked out. Song Yisher suddenly shouted, "Huamin, what's the matter? Miss Song?" Huamin turned around and smiled slightly. "I heard that you're a genius." Song Yisher was a little drunk, so her words were a little more arrogant than usual. Huamin was speechless. Huamin didn't know how to answer her question. If she said yes, it would seem like he was showing off. If he said no, it would seem too hypocritical. Mian is a genius, so what? Zhu Lingling glared at Song Yisher and answered on behalf of Huamin. "Haha, then do you dare to compete with me?" Song Yisher chuckled.
There's no need for that.
Huamin looked at Song Yisher calmly. Was there a need to compete to prove that she was a genius? How tiring would that be? If you want to be a genius, then go ahead. I can directly admit that you're the smartest person in the world, and no one is smarter than you. Huamin enunciated each and every word unexpectedly. This sentence angered Song Yisher. So, are you scared? Maybe you don't have real talent at all. You're just a genius artificially packaged and bragged. You're afraid of me, so you don't dare to compete, right?
Haha.
Song Yisher sneered. Chapter 1140. You like to dream. I don't blame you. Huamin calmly looked at Song Yisher. What do you mean? Song Yisher heard the sarcasm in Huamin's voice and was immediately displeased. I mean exactly what I said. Then, Huamin held onto Qin Chu's arm and smiled sweetly. Honey, let's go. Okay? Qin Chu nodded. He didn't even look at Song Yisher. Huamin's complete disregard of Song Yisher triggered Song Yisher's jealousy. Bitch Song is so disgusting. Why don't you give her a good scolding? She'll spoil your appetite. Zhu Lingling said in disgust. Arguing with someone like her will affect my IQ. I saw something on WeChat and thought it made a lot of sense, Huamin said with a smile. Qin Chu, Gao Ran, and Zhu Lingling all looked at her, as if waiting for her to continue. If an idiot argues with you, then you must agree with her point of view and her attitude. You must train her to be the best idiot, Huamin said word by word. Ha ha ha, that's so funny. Zhu Lingling laughed out loud. Gao Ran also gave her a thumbs up. You're amazing, you're the best. Qin Chu lovingly raised his hand and rubbed her face. Where did you get all this nonsense from? I just think it makes sense. Huh, if Song Yisher thinks she's a genius, then she is. If she thinks she's smarter than me, then she is. I don't care, it's just a title. Oh, you make it sound like you're some kind of master who is seen through the world. Zhu Lingling laughed. The four of them approached the Mercedes-Benz RV. Gao Ran held Zhu Lingling's hand. Before he could say anything, Huamin said, Lingling, why don't you stay at my house? I don't think that's a good idea. It's so inconvenient. I'll be interrupting your time with Mr. Qin. Zhu Lingling smirked. He won't. I'm on my period, and he can't do anything bad. Huamin purposely laughed. Zhu Lingling. Ahem. Goddess Hua, please don't do this to me. Your period is here, but she didn't come. Can you please let me live? Gao Ran begged with a sad face. So, are you two going on a date? Huamin teased them. You bastard, what are you talking about? Who's going on a date with you? Zhu Lingling was usually loud, but at critical moments like this, she got shy easily. She immediately turned around and punched Gao Ran. Okay, honey, if you keep teasing them, they're going to cry. Let's go. Qin dragged Huamin into the Mercedes-Benz RV. Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling then left in a taxi. Gao Ran had been staying at Zhu Lingling's place for a while now. Since Zhu Lingling rented the place herself, it was more convenient for them. The truth was, the two of them didn't like the idea of staying at a hotel. It was like they were having an affair. Plus, Gao Ran was the captain of the criminal police department. It was weird for him to check into a hotel with his ID on the way back. Huamin leaned into Qin arms and whined, "Honey, why haven't they talked about marriage yet?" "They're already so old, seriously," Huamin complained about Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling. "That's too soon. They haven't been together for long. But they've known each other for so many years. They haven't really been together for long. If they get married, it'll be too sudden. Don't worry about it." Qin smiled and pinched his cheeks. The next day was Sunday, and Huamin didn't rest. Instead, she went straight to work at Southside. On Monday, she asked for leave again. This was because on Monday, she and Qin returned to Second High with a donation of 50 million yuan. This time, they didn't return as students. Instead, they returned as GK's president and his wife. At 8 in the morning, the entire school held a meeting. Thousands of students gathered in the school's auditorium. Huamin and Qin took off their uniforms. Qin wore a black suit, and Huamin wore a white mid-length down jacket. The two walked up to the podium hand in hand. The audience went wild. "Oh my God, isn't that the handsome guy who sat in on our class?
Huh.
Isn't that the straight-A student in our class, Hua Lingling?" The students in both classes were confused. Chapter 1141. Everyone please quiet down, and let our principal say a few words. After the dean finished speaking, he handed the microphone to the principal of Second High. The principal of Second High was a man in his 50s. He had white hair, glasses, and a serious expression on his face. Students, I'm sure some of you are familiar with these two. Today, I'd like to formally introduce them to you. The man standing next to me is the CEO of GK, Mr. Qin and the woman standing next to him is his wife, Huamin. Both of them used to be students of Second High and came back 2 days ago to experience campus life. After the principal finished speaking, the crowd went wild again. The girls of grade 12 class 5 all screamed in unison, "No wonder he's so handsome. So, he's President Qin. Wow. That's so cool." The chubby boy from grade 12 class 8 was so shocked that his glasses almost fell to the ground. The transfer student he had a good impression of, the pretty girl who was a straight-A student, was actually the famous senior Huamin. Why was Huamin famous? It wasn't because she married Qin and became Lady Qin that she was famous. Instead, there were many legends about her at Second High. She was a genius. Back then, her middle school entrance exam scores were shockingly high. After she entered Second High, her college entrance exam scores were even more shocking. She could have gone to the best school in Jing City, but she gave it up and chose to stay at a third-rate medical school. This caused a huge uproar in the city at the time. Apparently, the instructors of Jing City University went to her house several times to persuade her to change her mind, but she refused. Even the former teachers of No. 2 high school had tried to persuade her. Such a legendary figure actually appeared at their school. What was even more amazing was that she used to be in the same class as him. They even sat so close to each other. The chubby boy felt his blood pressure skyrocketing, and he almost fainted. "Wow, no wonder she's so good at the exam. She's a genius," the students of grade 12 class 8 exclaimed. Then, the principal said, "As one of the most successful graduates of our school, President Qin and Lady Qin came back to school to experience the world. They've decided to officially donate 50 million yuan to our school today." 50 million? Oh my God, that's crazy. Oh my God. They're so rich. We don't understand the world of the rich. Then, the principal continued, 30 million yuan will be used as a donation for the library, computer lab, and science lab. The other 20 million yuan will be overseen by the school and GK Corporation's employees. This money will be used as a subsidy for needy students. In the future, students with good grades and poor family backgrounds will receive a fixed monthly allowance, including food and daily necessities. Let us give them a round of applause and thank them for their contributions to our alma mater. After the principal finished speaking, the entire hall burst into thunderous applause. Huamin stood calmly on the stage with a smile on his face. In fact, she didn't do all this for the sake of her reputation, because she didn't care about her personal gains and losses. But this time, when he returned to his sophomore year to experience life, he especially sympathized with a top student named Du Hongguang. She was so good at her studies and worked so hard, but she ate so poorly because her family's conditions didn't allow her to. Everyone knew that high school life was very tiring. Many children needed to eat nutritious food to replenish their brains. According to other students, Du Hongguang's father would ride a bicycle for 30 miles to Sea City to deliver 20 boiled eggs to him. Huamin was very touched by his father's love and sympathized with him. Therefore, he tactfully expressed his gratitude to Qin Chu, and Qin Chu immediately gave him an extra 20 million yuan.
Wow.
Senior Qin, Senior, what, they're my idols. They're so compatible, a girl said with infatuation. No wonder Senior Qin treats the top student so well. They're husband and wife. I'm so jealous. The girls felt like they were watching a melodramatic TV series where two big shots magically appeared in front of them. Mr. Principal, can Senior Qin say a few words? A courageous girl stood up and yelled. The other students immediately followed suit. The principal was easy to talk to and handed the microphone to Qin Chu. President Qin, please say a few words. Chapter 1142. Qin Chu wasn't a person who liked to be in the limelight. He didn't want to reveal it, he just wanted to show his face with Huamin. He just wanted to explain that he didn't mean to lie to everyone, so he didn't prepare anything beforehand. However, since the principal handed him the microphone, he couldn't reject it directly. Therefore, he slowly took the microphone, looked around the room, and said, "In my life, I've been in school for more than 10 years, and the most unforgettable experience is my time at Second High. During those 3 years, I met my wife, Huamin, and we experienced the most beautiful love of our youth. Many years later, we were able to get married. It's all thanks to that chance encounter." Huamin was slightly touched. She tilted her head and clapped her hands as she looked at Qin Chu with tears in her eyes. In a person's life, there are two things that are most painful: not being able to have something and losing it. However, I was lucky enough to have something that is most precious to me. This is my fortune and my blessing. You're still young, so you might not understand what I'm saying now. However, when you enter society and meet someone you like, you'll understand everything. I just want to tell you 2 key words: cherish. After Qin Chu finished speaking, the audience applauded thunderously. Principal, can you tell us what Huamian is doing now? The school has always said that she refused to go abroad, and the invitation from Jing University to stay here. Is that true? A straight-A girl from the student council couldn't help but stand up and ask. The principal looked at Huamin inquisitively. After getting her approval, he took the microphone and said, "I'm sure many of you are interested in Huamin. She's the one with the highest middle and high school scores in the 100 years since the school was founded. She also surprisingly chose not to go abroad or to Jing University. She's the only one who chose to stay here. I just received her approval, so I'll give you a brief introduction of her life." All the students listened quietly, as if they were very interested in this genius girl. After she left Second High, she did stay at a local medical school. She majored in nursing. After the principal said this, the room was in an uproar. She was once the most outstanding genius, but she had actually condescended to choose the nursing profession. After graduating from high school, she successfully entered the first hospital for an internship in the gynecology and obstetrics department. Hearing this, everyone felt that it was a pity. Some people even guessed that she might have been traumatized by her breakup with Qin Chu. At this moment, the principal added, "However, there was once a pregnant woman who suffered from severe bleeding in the middle of the night and went to the first hospital for treatment. The doctor on duty skipped work. With a life at stake, she made a shocking decision. Together with a nurse colleague, the two of them performed a major cesarean section on the pregnant woman. Huamin successfully became the chief surgeon and the anesthesiologist. The operation was extremely successful, and both mother and child were safe and sound. Holy shit, that's too awesome! As expected of a top student. Grade 12 Class 8 exclaimed in astonishment, along with some praises and applause. Huamin bit his lips as he listened to the principal's introduction of his life experience. To be honest, it was her first time experiencing such an occasion, so she was quite nervous. Perhaps Qin Shu could tell that she was uncomfortable, so he reached out and held her hand tightly, giving her encouragement. The principal continued, after that incident, an exception was made for her and she was promoted to an official employee. Later on, she was transferred to Southside Recuperation Center as an orthopedic nurse. After that, she was promoted to head nurse because of her outstanding performance. Later on, the director's family member was involved in a car accident. Faced with such a difficult surgery, none of the doctors were confident that they could succeed. Huamin went to the hospital in the middle of the night and personally performed the surgery. Once again, a mother and daughter were saved. Everyone exclaimed in shock once again. Chapter 1143. No way. She's that amazing? She's not human, she's a god. Some of the boys didn't believe the principal. They thought the principal was exaggerating. Later, the director thought it was a waste of her talent, so he reported it to the hospital together with several senior chief physicians. She became the first person in the city to successfully transition from a nurse to a doctor. She got full marks in all her subjects and got a doctor's registration certificate. There's also a small interlude here. She successfully completed the human anatomy experiment that wasn't part of her exam. She even did it perfectly in the shortest time possible. The audience gasped again. What's even more amazing is that after she got her certificate, many departments in the hospital fought to hire her. She's proficient in 5 specialties: obstetrics, gynecology, ophthalmology, neurology, and orthopedics. Holy shit, is she even human? The audience gasped again now. Senior Hua is the youngest neurologist in the medical industry in the country. Let's applaud her excellence. After the principal finished speaking, the audience burst into deafening applause again. Qin Shu looked at his beautiful wife lovingly. At this moment, he was proud of her. Principal, let Senior Hua say a few words and give us some noble advice, a student shouted. Then, someone else followed suit. The principal handed the microphone to Huamin again. She was quite excited. After looking around the room, she slowly said, I'm very grateful for everything that I have today. We can't take everything that we have for granted. A lot of it was given to us by the heavens, and a lot of it was earned through our own hard work. I've never admitted that I'm a genius. I'm just like everyone else, working hard and struggling. There's actually no shortcut to success. There's only perseverance and a serious attitude towards everything. Finally, I'd like to say something that I like to say to all the juniors. Everyone held their breaths as they waited for her to say this. She said, there's no such thing as reaching the heavens in one step. Only a foolish old man can move a mountain. 3 seconds later, the audience burst into thunderous applause again. Tisk, no wonder she's a straight-A student. Look at her humble attitude and her words. At this moment, the chubby boy was treating Huamin as his idol. She was perfect. At this moment, a boy in the crowd suddenly shouted, Senior Hua, I love you. It's too late for you to love her. Your senior sister is already taken, the principal replied jokingly. Huamin and Qin Shu looked at each other and smiled. At noon, the principal kept asking them to stay for lunch. However, Huamin and Qin Shu were too busy, especially Qin Shu, who had tons of things to deal with at GK. After that, the two of them did not eat. Instead, they drove straight out of the school. Honey, do you think it's a good idea for us to be so high-profile? Huamin asked with a smile. Why does it seem like you came back to school to show off? Even if you want to show off, you have to have the ability. If you were an ordinary employee, what else could you show off? Qin Shu asked. Okay, you always have a point. Huamin smiled. Honey, you don't have time to have lunch with me, right? Seeing that Qin Shu had rejected the principal's invitation, Huamin guessed that he was busy again. Yeah, I need to go look at the design plans for the resort. I have to finalize it today. Then I'll go eat at my mom's place. I don't have anything to eat at Southside at this time. Okay, I'll drive you. Then, Chin-Chu drove Humin to Sky Blessing Court in his Maybach and turned around. When Humin walked in with his bag, his mother wasn't home. Yang Xiaoping was leaning against the sofa and playing with her phone. It seemed like she was talking to someone on WeChat. When she saw Humin walk in, she immediately put her phone down on the sofa and stood up. Cousin Humin, why are you here? Chapter 1144. Yeah, where's my mom? Oh, Andy went out to meet up with a friend.
Oh.
Humin nodded. Then, do you have anything to eat at home? Humin had been busy all morning and was quite hungry. There's nothing at home. I can order takeout for you. Here's the phone number, Yang Xiaoping said as she picked up a food delivery card. It's okay, I'll be going now. Humin actually didn't like takeout and preferred to cook for herself when she had time. Of course, she had eaten her mom's cooking since she was a kid. However, cousin Yang Xiaoping kept up with the times. She even knew how to order food. Didn't her mom say that she was very virtuous? Was she super good at cooking? Cousin Yang, did you come alone? Yang Xiaoping asked as she followed Humin out of the house. Yeah. Is my cousin-in-law busy? Isn't that company really beautiful? I really want to see it when I have time, Yang Xiaoping mumbled quietly. Yeah, he's very busy. Humin didn't say anything else as she turned around and left the house. Humin found it quite interesting that Yang Xiaoping kept asking about Chin-Chu. She was young, but she was quite ambitious. She had her eyes set on Chin-Chu. Humin smiled and didn't say anything. Then she hailed a taxi. After she got into the car, she took out her WeChat. Slightly, are you there? Sir, let's keep going. I'll decide where to go in a bit and let you know, Humin said to the driver. Okay. The driver nodded. Jiang Xiaowei immediately replied, Yeah, I'm here. At home, or? At home, I'm so bored. Do you want to come and see me? Jiang Xiaowei asked jokingly. Yeah, I want to see you. Can you take care of my meals? I'm so hungry. I haven't had lunch yet.
Humin smiled. Really?
Jiang Xiaowei was ecstatic.
Yes.
Come on, you're so welcome. I'll get the kitchen to prepare some delicious food. Haha. Jiang Xiaowei was very excited when she heard that Humin was coming to her house. Ever since she stopped working and stayed at home to take care of her pregnancy, she had been extremely bored. Humin took a taxi directly to the villa area where Jiang Xiaowei and Wei Liao lived. This was also a well-known wealthy district in the city. The Wei family had never lacked money. Whether it was the decoration, the location, or the house type, it was the best. I heard that even Xiaowei's white Lexus has been replaced, although it was still a brand. It had gone from a $400,000 Lexus to a $2 million Lexus. He was simply a tycoon among tycoons. When Humin arrived, he bought a lot of high-end fruits for Jiang Xiaowei. Holding a fruit basket in each hand, his strength was unparalleled. Fuck, are you kidding me? Are you Hercules? Why did you have to buy such a vulgar flower basket? Jiang Xiaowei exclaimed. I'm giving you food, so just eat it. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Humin placed the fruit basket on the coffee table in the living room with a bang. Then he followed Jiang Xiaowei to the dining room. There were only the two of them in the huge dining room. There were a total of 8 dishes, a mix of meat and vegetables. It was simply too tempting. I'll give you 32 likes. You're so efficient. Humin gave her a thumbs up. My housekeeper made it. It has nothing to do with me. But it tastes good. Hurry up and eat. The two of them chatted as they ate. Is Wei Liao still so busy? Busy my ass. He's so free every day. Sometimes he comes home at 3 p.m., even earlier than elementary school students, Jiang Xiaowei complained. Humin couldn't stop chuckling when Jiang Xiaowei was funny. She was almost as funny as Zhu Lingling. Humin felt that with these two friends in her life, she would have 2/3 more laughs in her life. Have you seen Sue lately? Jiang Xiaowei suddenly asked. No, why? Chapter 1145. The Su family is really anxious about Su Yu's marriage. They've been arranging blind dates for him. Even Wei Liao said that he's sick of seeing so many women. Maybe the Su family is just being nice. Huamin never commented on Su's affairs. After all, his identity was a bit sensitive. I think that even if he went on blind dates 100 times, it still wouldn't work. It's useless if the person he's going on blind dates with looks like Chang'e. Why do you say that? Huamin raised his head and looked at Jiang Shaowei in confusion. Because Su still has you in his heart. Jiang Shaowei's words hit the nail on the head. Huamin felt a bit awkward. Let's eat. I'm starving. Huamin changed the topic and didn't continue discussing it with Jiang Shaowei. While eating, Huamin didn't forget to take pictures and show off. Then, he posted them on his WeChat friend circle, freeloading at Dr. Zhang's house, yay. The 9 pictures below were all of the dishes. In order to make up the 9 pictures, Huamin even gave a picture of the rice. You have OCD seriously, Jiang Shaowei complained. Huamin smiled but didn't say anything. Sis, you're so lucky. You can eat so much Chinese food. Jixin, who was overseas, immediately liked and commented, when you come back, I'll take you to eat Chinese food every day. You can eat as much as you want, Huamin replied. That's great. I love you so much. Jixin smiled. Damn, you heartless guy, you didn't even wake me up for dinner. You're so heartless, Zhu Lingling immediately complained. You had 300 rounds with Captain Gao last night. Of course, I wouldn't wake you up. You probably won't wake up until sunset, right? Damn, you're so perverted. 300 rounds? How can you say that? Goddess Hua is no longer the pure girl in my heart. Humph. Zhu Lingling laughed. You're thinking too much. What I meant was you guys played poker all night. What else did you guys do that we don't know about? Huamin purposely asked. Huamin, come here. I promise I won't beat you to death. Realizing that she had been played, Zhu Lingling was furious and started bickering with Huamin. After Huamin and Jiang Shaowei had lunch, the maid washed a lot of fruits. The two of them were basking in the sun on the top floor of the villa in the middle of winter, blowing on the heater. It was really beautiful. Jiang Shaowei was reluctant to see Huamin leave. Girl, when are you coming to visit me? Fine. Don't make it sound like you're visiting me in prison. You're pregnant, not a prisoner. If you miss me, you can come find me anytime. Haha, you're welcome to harass me. Okay. I'll come find you at Southside tomorrow. Okay. I'll treat you to lunch in the cafeteria. After the two reluctantly said goodbye, Huamin took a taxi back to South Hill Manor. Huamin didn't get much rest over the past few days, so she slept through the afternoon. When she woke up, it was already 5:00. Then, she realized that she had 3 missed calls on her phone. They were from a landline in the city. While she was in a daze, another call came in. It was from the same landline.
Hello.
Hello? Is this Ms. Huamin? An unfamiliar female voice asked. That's me. Huamin nodded. Hello, Ms. Huamin. I'm Wang Shui, the director of the TV station. Hello, how can I help you? Huamin frowned slightly. She didn't remember knowing this person. Chapter 1146. Here's the thing. Our TV station is launching a new live show called The Strongest Brain in History. We would like to invite you to be our guest. Guest? Sorry, I'm not interested. Huamin instinctively refused. Ms. Huamin, I hope you can come. I've done research on successful people in your city, and I'm very interested in your information. I heard that you were a genius when you were young and had a very high IQ. This time, our show, The Strongest Brain in History, matches your characteristics very well, so we really hope you can come. The pay is also very generous. I don't need money. Huamin smiled faintly. I know, but if you can win out of the 12 challengers tonight, our TV station will give you a 1,000,000 yuan prize. This money will be used to help the poor children in our neighborhood. Don't you want to do charity? As expected, upon hearing this, Huamin fell silent. She didn't want to be on TV, especially live. However, if she could help more people, then it was a different story. Can I think about it? I'm sorry, Ms. Hua, but we're going live tomorrow night, so I really don't have time to think about it. If you want to come, then you have to decide now, or else we'll have to find someone else. If I don't go and someone else does, then the prize money will be donated to the poor children, right? Yes, but it's a different story. You're worth 1 million yuan, but if we find someone else, we'll probably give you 100,000 yuan at most. You're a young lady of GK, and you're also a chief physician at Southside, so you're worth a lot. The director patiently explained, I see. Then what time does it start tomorrow night?
Humin asked.
It starts at 8 p.m., about an hour and a half. Just this once? Humin asked cautiously. Recently, a lot of popular shows aired on a weekly basis from season 1 to season 2. Humin really didn't have that much time, yes, just one day. Okay then, I'll agree. Thank you. I hope you can come to the TV station at 7 p.m. sharp tomorrow night. Find me. We'll do our makeup first, and then start the live broadcast.
All right.
Humin calculated the time. He would get off work at 5:30. After a simple meal, he would be done by 7. Wouldn't it be great if he could really get a 1 million yuan stipend? On the other end, after the director hung up the phone, he looked at the woman opposite him attentively. Miss Song, it's done. Did she agree? Song Yisher asked casually while trimming her long nails with a nail clipper. Yes, he said he'll be here on time tomorrow night. Humph. Then tomorrow night will be the important moment when the mask of this genius is torn off. Miss Song, if Humin is really that good, what should we do? Wouldn't we be shooting ourselves in the foot? Before the director could finish speaking, Song Yisher impatiently threw the nail clipper on the table. Are you an idiot? Those questions were set by our people, so I definitely saw the answers first. How could we lose? No matter how good she is, there's no way she's faster than me. Plus, she's studied medicine, so tomorrow night we'll ask about everything from astronomy to geography. There's no way she'll know everything, so we'll just ask the weird ones. Yes, Miss Song is so smart. Then, tomorrow night, I'll appear as the finale guest tomorrow night. I'll definitely erase her title as a genius. Song Yisher sneered. She suddenly felt that Qin Shu liked Humin because she had always been called a genius. If she fell off the altar tomorrow night and was no longer a genius, then people would laugh at her. If she did that, people would laugh at her, and Qin Shu wouldn't like her as much. Meanwhile, Humin was eating dinner by herself. As she ate, she thought about what kind of show The Strongest Brain in History was. Why would they spend 1 million yuan to invite her to appear for an hour and a half? Even the best actors and actresses didn't pay that much? Was there something fishy going on? Chapter 1147. By the time Qin Shu came home, it was already past 8 p.m. Humin had already showered and was lying on the bed reading Yu Qiuyu's notes from the mountain residence. In fact, most of the time, Humin didn't like the fast-paced life in the city. She preferred to be a little lazy. She would wake up naturally in the morning, eat breakfast slowly, and then sit on the balcony window with a fat cat in her arms while reading a refreshing book. Humin yearned for this kind of life. However, she couldn't do it now. She wanted to strive for it while she was still young. After all, she had to live for a reason. As for those fantasies just now, she planned to realize them after she and Qin Shu retired. The two of them traveled around the world while living a simple and undisciplined life. If you want to retire, you should look like you're retiring. What are you thinking about, honey? Qin Shu showered and went straight to bed. He cupped Humin's adorable face and kissed her sweetly. After a day of tiredness and busyness, Qin Shu looked forward to the moment when she came home. She could see the person she loved waiting for her in bed. Then, the two of them chatted about their daily lives, talking about the day's events and sharing their experiences. I'm thinking about our retirement life. Retirement? Honey, you're thinking too much. We're only in our 20s. Qin Shu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It'll be fast. Haven't you heard of the phrase, time flies? Don't you think it's been 7 years? Humin looked at Qin Shu unhappily. It'll be fast. Qin Shu narrowed his eyes and seriously thought about what his wife said. So, I'm thinking about it now. It's getting late. Maybe in the blink of an eye, we'll be old. Humin snuggled into Qin Shu's arms and thought about the future. Are you busy at work today? Not bad, it's pretty much the same every day. Qin Shu nodded. He wasn't interested in managing a company, but he had to manage it because it was his family business. However, since he started it, he wouldn't let it slide. Ever since he took over GK, the company's performance had skyrocketed. The major shareholders all praised Qin Chu, and Qin Chu's father could retire without worry. This was the rule of a son inheriting his father's business. Oh, honey, tomorrow night, I have a live broadcast. Humin suddenly remembered this important event and immediately discussed it with Qin Chu. Live broadcast? Qin Chu slightly frowning. What show? It's called The Strongest Brain in History? I've never heard of it. Haha, I've never heard of it either. I heard it's a new show that invites successful people in the industry to show off their IQ. I'm not interested in that kind of thing, but I'm interested in their charity fund. The director said that if I do a live broadcast for 1.5 hours, the show will give out 1,000,000 yuan as a charity fund for poor children. If I can help those children by doing a live broadcast, why not?
I see.
Okay, it's up to you. Don't work too hard. Our family doesn't lack money. Qin Chu hugged Humin dotingly. I know, it's not about money. I just want to do something within my means. I understand. Thank you for your understanding, Mr. Qin. Let's go to bed. We can't go to bed yet. Emicham? Do you still have work to do? Humin looked confused. Emicham, I still have an important job to do. Qin Chu said in all seriousness. Okay, go do it then. Humin nodded dumbly and continued reading. However, Mr. Qin immediately pressed her down on the bed. Then he covered her mouth, so the important thing Mr. Qin was talking about was this. The next morning, Humin drove to work early and saw an Yang at Southside, whom she hadn't seen in a long time. Sister Humin, I want to ask for help. He was still wearing a baseball cap and a mask. Come in. Humin immediately looked around and saw that there were no suspicious paparazzi. She immediately let an Yang into her office. Chapter 1148. Why are you here so early in the morning? I'm here to see you. An Yang took off his mask and sat down on the chair next to Humin's desk. Humian quickly poured him a cup of warm water from a disposable paper cup and handed it to him. Speak slowly, what is it? Sister Humin, please talk to President Qin for me. I'm almost fully recovered, so don't make me act like a flower vase every day. I want to act in a fight scene, did you know? A few days ago, the famous director Chen Ziqing came to Sister Ingzi and said that he wanted me to act in a tough guy movie. However, after Sister Ingzi discussed it with the company, she rejected him. Damn, I'm so mad. God knows how much I like director Chen and how much I want to act in his movie. The box office is secondary, but I want to use this opportunity to change my style. I'm already so old, I can't keep acting like a little fresh meat. I need to become a man. And Yang rambled on, and Humin understood what he meant. He wanted to act in a fight scene, but his agent and company didn't allow it. It's for your own good. Humin took a sip of water and smiled. I know it's for my own good, but I'm fine now. Recently, I've been going to meaningless events, and they won't even let me go to concerts. I'm so bored. If this continues, I'll go crazy. Sister, please help me. I know President Qin listens to you the most. You can help him out by telling him pillow talk. Pillow talk. You're brave. Humin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, seeing how lively this kid was, he should be fine. After the liver transplant, he didn't show any signs of rejection. It seemed that the serum provided by his loved ones was good. It was stable and safe. I understand what you're thinking, but for safety reasons, you have to go through a full body checkup in our hospital first. Then, the attending doctor who operated on you has to promise me that you've really recovered. Otherwise, there's no need to talk about it. Sis, let's not. It's too troublesome. Upon hearing Humin's request, an Yang felt a headache coming on. It has to be done. Otherwise, there's no room for discussion, Humin insisted. Okay, I'll do it. But you have to keep your word. If I really pass the criteria, you have to promise to persuade Chairman Qin to let me take on that movie, and Yang stated his condition.
Deal.
Humin smiled. And Yang then turned to leave. Oh, right, and Yang. What's the matter, Sister Humin? And Yang turned around. Did Xiaowan visit you? Her? She came to my neighborhood a few times with a broken thermos, saying that she wanted to bring me chicken soup. I smashed it and chased her away. She never came back. What a hypocrite. God knows what she's thinking when she tries so hard to please me. Maybe she wants to extort more money from me? Maybe she really cares about you, Hwamin said tentatively. Cares about me. Stop fooling around, Sister Hwamin. She's a woman who hasn't cared about me for more than 10 years. She's not even good enough to be my mother. How could she care about me? She only cares about the baby, not me. And Aiyong smiled bitterly, and then turned to leave. Hwamin felt that Aiyong still had a deep misunderstanding about Siawan. It seemed that if she didn't tell him the truth, he would never forgive her. It seemed like he would never be able to forgive Siawan, but Hwamin promised Siawan that she wouldn't tell him, so she was conflicted. Hwamin was busy all day and got off work at 5:30 p.m. When she passed by a KFC, she bought a hamburger and a Coke. After a quick bite, Hwamin drove to the TV station. There were still 5 minutes until her appointment with the director at 7 p.m. Hwamin had always been a punctual person. Mrs. Chin, you're here. Director Wang Shui walked over to greet her warmly. Chapter 1149. Hwamin nodded and followed the director to the dressing room for her makeup. Hwamin wasn't used to heavy makeup, so at her own insistence, she only put on light Korean-style nude makeup. She also didn't wear the exaggerated gold qipao that the director brought for her. Instead, she chose an elegant black and white qipao with floral prints. Because the studio was heated, she could wear short sleeves, just like in summer. Before she went on stage, the director repeatedly reminded her, Lady Chin, you don't have to say too much on stage. You just have to answer the questions with the contestants. It doesn't matter if you get eliminated, but we won't give you too difficult a question. I'm sure you'll be able to advance to the last round and receive the prize money. You mean if I don't win, I won't get $1 million? Hwamin finally realized the crux of the problem.
Yes.
But you didn't make it clear before. You said that as long as I came, I would be paid $1 million. Hwamin's expression turned cold. Maybe I didn't make it clear. Don't mind me. But based on what I know about you, you definitely won't lose, right? You flattered me at the right time. Hwamin sneered as she glanced at the director's face. I'm not flattering you. I'm just telling the truth. Lady Chin, you're so amazing. The director smiled and replied straightforwardly. Hwamin hated people who went back on their words and took advantage of loopholes. If they didn't make things clear and only told you when you arrived, you would only receive the prize money if you won. If you lost, you wouldn't get a single cent. Hwamin was truly annoyed by this type of deceit. She didn't care about the $1 million. She could easily take out $1 million to help those poor kids. But this was a matter of integrity, and integrity, according to Hwamin's usual style of doing things, she could have rejected the live broadcast and left. But she held back. This was because she noticed that the perfume that the director was wearing was from a brand called VVO. Song Yisher was also a fan of this brand. Basically, every time he saw her, he would definitely smell this perfume on her. Some people might say that this was a coincidence. Most girls liked Chanel, but did that mean that all the girls who used Chanel knew each other? Hwamin can tell you that VVO is an Italian brand and not a world-renowned one. It was only because this perfume was a newly established brand. It was very famous in Italy, and Song Yisher had been studying in Italy since she was young. So, it wasn't strange for her to have that kind of perfume, but where did she buy it from? There were no counters in the country that sold it. Some people even said that it might have been because they had bought it from Italy. However, due to the rarity of the raw materials used for this perfume, only the Italian nobles could afford it. A bottle of perfume that cost more than 8,000 yuan. Was this how a television director would spend money? She and Zhu Lingling were both fans of perfume, so they knew a lot about it. Zhu Lingling had even specially asked someone to buy a bottle for her in Italy. It cost her 8,000 yuan, and she was heartbroken for a month. Hwamin didn't really like the smell because it was too strong. It was the kind of smell that was unforgettable. It was too ostentatious and didn't suit her. She preferred the faint smell of perfume or the refreshing smell of candy. Thinking of this, Hwamin looked up and smiled at the female director. Miss Wang, Are you close to Mayor Song's daughter, Song Yisher? Sure enough, after hearing this, the female director's expression changed slightly. Chapter 1150. What Song? Mayor Song's daughter? I don't know her at all. The director seemed a little flustered. Oh, then it's fine. Hwamin smiled faintly, as if all the answers were already clear. Ever since she entered the neurology department, she had been studying patients' microexpressions. For example, sometimes patients would unconsciously tug at the corner of their clothes when they were nervous, clench their fists when they were angry, and when they were lying, their eyes would drift away. When the director denied knowing Song Yisher, the answer was already very obvious. It seemed the strongest brain in history was a conspiracy from the beginning. Hwamin suddenly remembered a slightly drunk Song Yisher at the entrance of the seafood restaurant a few days ago. She was clamoring to compete with her to see who was the genius. At that time, she thought it was just her drunken overreaction because she was too impulsive. It turned out that this woman was really digging a hole to prove that she was the genius and Hwamin was the fool. It was so boring and childish, but she was actually so enthusiastic about it. Hwamin also laughed, however, since she was already here. She wasn't afraid, let alone Song Yisher. With that woman's brain, even if there were 10 of her, she would still be able to beat her in minutes. Was intelligence something that could be improved? Could drinking a few boxes of sedative and brain-invigorating fluid make you smarter? Of course not. This was talent. This was an extra gift that God had given her. She didn't waste the twists and turns of her life of more than 20 years. Hwamin had always thought that God was the fairest. When he gave you something beautiful, he would definitely make you pay an equivalent price in exchange. Caterpillars were ugly and crawled very slowly, but they were very safe. No one was willing to touch them. Butterflies were beautiful and flew very fast because many animals, including humans, were chasing after them. If they were a little slower, they would die instantly. This was nature's way of survival. Hwamin didn't think that she was amazing just because she had a high IQ. On the contrary, she had been working hard. To be able to obtain what he had today was not luck, but the price of hard work. Therefore, no one's success was easy to achieve, and no one would always be lucky. After putting on her makeup, Hwamin realized that there were still 800 people in the audience. The female host introduced her as follows: Ms. Hwamin, 24 years old, the chief of neurology at Southside Recuperation Center, and the wife of GK's current president, Chin Chu. She was called a genius in high school. Let's see how amazing this genius is. This introduction seemed to be glorious, but it was actually to pave the way for what was to come. Hwamin felt that Song Yisher probably wanted to see him make a fool of himself. When the time came, he would show everyone that he wasn't a genius. It was just a matter of bragging. Hwamin smiled slightly and walked up the stage. He waved to everyone and then walked to the seat with his name on it and sat down. Other than Hwamin, there were 11 other people who were also considered geniuses. There were both men and women. However, Song Yisher wasn't among these people. Hwamin knew that these were all just appetizers. After the host's introduction, the competition began. Hwamin didn't make herself look outstanding. Instead, she kept herself above average. Then, she continued to advance, and almost an hour passed. Finally, after Hwamin entered the top 4, the competition began. She eliminated all her opponents until she was the only one left. Just then, the host said, "Mrs. Chin, the door of dreams is right in front of you. Once you open it, you will receive the $1 million reward you received today. However, before that, you still have one last obstacle to pass, and that is to compete with our final VIP guest. Are you willing to do that?" With so many people watching, how could Hwamin say no? Therefore, she smiled and nodded. Sure. Then, Song Yisher slowly walked in from another entrance. She was wearing a white evening gown and white crystal shoes. Her hair was slightly curly, and she was dressed like a goddess. For some reason, Hwamin's first reaction when he saw her outfit was a white lotus. Chapter 1151. Next, I would like to introduce today's VIP guest, Miss Song Isher. After speaking, the host continued, Miss Song Isher grew up in Italy and was deeply influenced by the culture of China and Italy. She became the youngest Chinese artist in China and has a great influence in both Italy and China. She could have obtained Italian citizenship, but because of her patriotism, she ignored the advice of her art teachers and returned to China. Now, she has opened up the largest art school in the city and is an idol that all elementary and secondary school students want to emulate. Not only is Miss Song beautiful, but she is also very intelligent. She has become a model socialite. Next, let us give Miss Song a warm round of applause. After the host's lengthy introduction, Song Isher walked to the center of the stage. She took the microphone and smiled. Hello everyone, I am Song Isher. Good luck, Song Goddess. Song Goddess, we love you. Her fans began to crowd around her and cheer her on. Actually, I came here today to do charity. The production team said that if I came, they would donate $1 million to poor children. Just the thought of being able to help them makes me proud. Huamin was speechless. This woman stole all her lines. It is my honor to compete with Lady Qin today. As you all know, President Qin and I are good friends and have always had a good relationship. Now that we're on stage together, it really isn't a competition. We're here to do charity. So if my friend Lady Qin doesn't perform well, please forgive her. Goddess, you're too kind. You're even speaking up for your friend. Goddess, why are you so nice? You're doing charity and giving face to your friend. Those who didn't know the truth were always the ones being toyed with in their eyes. Song Isher suddenly became a perfect goddess. But how could there be a perfect person in this world? They were just disguising their own weaknesses and exposing their own strengths, Miss Song. Don't worry about me. I don't think I'll lose, so there's no issue of being forgiven, Huamin interrupted. I'm just making an example. After all, this is a live broadcast. If there are really some difficult questions and you can't answer them, wouldn't it be awkward? After all, my dear, your education level isn't that high, and you've never studied abroad. So many questions are still very difficult for you. Song Isher looked at Huamin and smiled like a flower. The audience really thought that they were good friends. Studying abroad has nothing to do with IQ. It can only be said that it's about experience. Today's show is about the strongest brain in history. Isn't it about IQ? So, what do I have to worry about? Huamin didn't want to be outdone either. Every time Song Isher said something, she followed suit. The host saw that they couldn't go on like this. He was afraid that something would go wrong. He immediately tried to smooth things over and said, Miss Song Isher, please take your seat. The ultimate competition is about to begin.
Okay.
Song Isher nodded and smiled as she sat down in the chair across from Huamin. The two of them were separated by a distance of 5 meters. They could clearly see each other's expressions. Song Isher had a gloating expression on her face, as if she thought that she was going to win. Huamin also knew that she definitely came prepared. The questions that she was going to ask were all answers that Song Isher knew beforehand. Otherwise, she wouldn't be so arrogant. So, are the two of you ready? The host asked in a serious tone. I'm okay. Song Isher smiled sweetly. Huamin didn't say anything, but he made an okay sign with his hand. Okay, then we'll officially begin. Please pay attention to the questions, then press the button to answer. Chapter 1152. Life is about exercise. Who said this? As soon as the host finished speaking, Song Isher immediately answered. Voltaire. The best time to eat fruit. Between meals, Song Isher answered again. Which dynasty did the 4-sheep cube come from? Shang. Song Isher answered immediately again. Wow, that's amazing. Miss Song got all of them right. After the host finished speaking, the audience burst into applause. Then, the host purposely looked at Huamin and smiled. Mrs. Qin, you have to do your best too. Huamin looked at Song Isher and thought it was funny. She looked at the answers in advance and then came up to show off. What was the point of that? Huamin looked at the host and replied thoughtfully, I'm not in a hurry. I'll let Miss Song perform. Next, please listen to the question. Which publishing house was the first to film in China? It was a business publishing house. Song Yisher answered again. For the first time in human history, Marx created historical materialism, Song Yisher said proudly and confidently. Huamin didn't answer a single question. From the looks of it, she didn't seem like she was going to answer a single question. Not only does human consciousness reflect the objective world, but it also creates the objective world. This is, the host asked. Dialectical materialism, Song Yisher answered loudly. All right, the host announced with a smile. Another thunderous roar came from the audience. Mrs. Qin, is your answering machine broken? The host asked mockingly. Immediately, the audience below the stage laughed along with him. Some people even whispered, "What kind of genius girl is she? She's just us." Oh. She didn't even answer a single question. Song Goddess answered all of them. In my opinion, the Song Goddess is the real genius. She must be a fake genius.
Yeah.
If President Qin finds out that he married a fake genius, he'll probably cry himself to death. Below the stage, everyone was talking at once, but on the stage, the two armies were still facing off against each other. Song Yisher's face was filled with pride. According to her plan, this was how it should be. My responder isn't broken, Huamin said with a smile. Then why didn't you answer any of the questions? Do you not know how to do it? The host asked with ulterior motives. No, it's just that it's too simple. I don't think it's necessary to answer it. It's just child's play. Huamin smiled. As soon as he finished speaking, Song Yisher's expression changed slightly. This was a blatant insult to her. Wow, this Huamin really knows how to boast. Such a difficult question, and he said it was too easy. How pretentious. Maybe Lady Qin is the real deal. Let's wait and see. A couple in the audience murmured softly because the show was live. A lot of people were watching their performance on TV. Qin Chu turned on the TV as he worked. Whenever Huamin's camera was on, he would look up and gently look at her. Sir, what's wrong with a young lady? Why isn't she answering? She's so impatient. She's holding back. Qin Chu knew Huamin too well. Therefore, he wasn't worried that his wife would lose inside the president's office at Imperial Star headquarters. Su is still working overtime. President Su, there's an executive meeting in 5 minutes, his female secretary whispered. Cancel it. Are we really canceling? The female secretary was a little dumbfounded. She thought to herself, then what's the point of working so late? Su couldn't take his eyes off the live broadcast. He waved his hand and sent the female secretary away. Half an hour ago, Tang Chuan's lackey called and told him to turn on the TV and watch the local live broadcast. However, he suspiciously turned on the TV. As expected, Huamin was on the live broadcast. She even became Song Yisher's enemy and had an ultimate battle with her. Su Yu's heart was in his mouth. Because it was a live broadcast, so many people were watching. He was really afraid that she would lose to Song Yisher. Chapter 1153. Jiang Shaowei was also extremely anxious at home. If it weren't for Wei Liao stopping her, she would have gone to the event as a group of friends and family. Slightly calm down, okay? Huamin will definitely win. Wei Liao tried his best to persuade her. What do you know? Can't you tell? Bitch Song obviously knows the answer. That's why she answered so quickly. Huamin was set up. Do you know that? But I believe in Huamin's inhuman IQ. Even if he was set up, he would still be able to turn the situation around. Song Yisher is definitely no match for him. Huh? What you said makes sense. After Jiang Shaowei calmed down, she analyzed what Wei Liao said and realized that he was right. What kind of person was Huamin? He was someone who could deal with anything calmly, without batting an eyelid. Song Yisher wouldn't put herself in an awkward position with this little trick, right? So, don't worry, let's not go out, okay? The temperature outside is -20 degrees Celsius. You're pregnant now, so don't torture yourself, my dear. The entire Wei family was paying close attention to Jiang Shaowei's pregnancy. Wei Liao was also afraid that something would go wrong. Plus, with Jiang Shaowei's current condition, what could she do if she went to the TV station? How could she interrupt a live broadcast? Wouldn't that be useless? After thinking about it, Wei Liao's words made sense, so Jiang Xiaowei finally calmed down. Wei Liao waved his hand and dismissed the maids. Then, he carried Jiang Xiaowei and continued watching the live broadcast. His excitement was on par with watching the Olympics. Zhu Lingling was on the plane, so she couldn't watch the live broadcast. However, it would be a shame if she missed such an exciting scene. Therefore, Gao Ren cleverly turned on the recording function and planned to show it to Zhu Lingling as soon as she got off the plane. Just as Wei Liao thought, Gao Ran was very confident in Humin. He was confident that a woman as strong as Humian wouldn't be defeated by Song Yisher. Auntie,
Cousin is on TV.
over at Sky Blessing Court, Yang Xiuping was eating a banana as she pointed at the TV. Yang's T. Yang's S's S. Why didn't you tell me? I almost missed it. What's this show? I think it's a competition to see who's smarter is smarter. Yang's analyzed the situation's words. So, Yang Meirong and her niece began to watch TV in fear. Humin originally thought that it was just a show, so she didn't take it seriously. However, she didn't expect so many people to pay attention to her during the live broadcast. Song Yisher was even more vicious. She worked with the director and host to ruin Huamin's reputation. She couldn't stay calm anymore and was ready to fight back. Mrs. Qin, you're right. Our questions aren't simple. You can't slander our show just because you can't answer them. The host was obviously using Song Yisher to step on Humin. How about this? Since this is a live broadcast, everyone knows that it's not fake. Why don't we do something more fun?
How?
Song Yisher looked at Humin cautiously. We'll ask each other questions live. You give me a question, and I'll give you a question. How about this? We'll each give you 10 questions. Song Yisher was a little scared at this moment. If this wasn't arranged by the show, Humin's questions would be very difficult. Even if she thought that she was smart, she might not be able to win. Humin put Song Yisher in a difficult spot. Chapter 1154. Seeing that Song Yisher was hesitating, Humin continued, Of course, this is just my suggestion. If Miss Song doesn't want to play, it's fine. I can let you win or lose to you. Anyway, the questions given by the production team are quite simple. Humin was implying that even if she won, it would be unfair because the questions were too simple. This time, Song Yisher couldn't sit still anymore. I accept your suggestion. Miss Song. The host seemed to want to stop Song Yisher from accepting the challenge. It's fine, just do as she says. In front of so many people, Song Yisher still cared about her face. So, she was easily goaded into action by Humin. If the two of them asked each other, the possibility of them winning was very high. After all, who knew how far it would go? There was no way to predict the outcome. Backstage, director Wang Shui's expression changed slightly. Miss Song has fallen into a trap. She's probably going to lose. Not following the program team's planned flow was a form of protection in itself. Humin was the real deal, while Song Yisher was the one who was packaged. Accepting the challenge didn't benefit Song Yisher at all. After accepting the challenge, Song Yisher actually felt a little regretful, but there was nothing she could do. There were so many people watching the live broadcast. Even if she died, she had to bite the bullet. Song Goddess, you can do it. We believe in you. A fan raised a sign and shouted. Beautiful and kind, sure is the strongest. Beautiful and kind, sure is the strongest. There were even brainless fans shouting funny slogans at this juncture. Song Yisher was so angry that she cursed these idiots in her heart. Humin, on the other hand, had a faint smile on his face. Qin Chu, who was sitting in front of the TV, gently looked at Humin's face. He liked to see Humin smile like this. Calm, confident, and calm, Qin Chu stared at the TV as if he couldn't get enough of it. A young lady, you can do it, a young lady, you can do it, Yang jokingly shouted slogans on the side. At the same time, in a rented apartment in the suburbs, Ning Ziyuan was curled up on the bed and looked at the woman on the TV. His heart was filled with mixed feelings. Once, this girl was so close to him, But later, because he wanted to marry into a rich family's family, he hooked up with Wu Xiaoxue and then had an affair with He-Man. He had missed his best chance with Humian. He thought that if Qin Shu hadn't come back, they wouldn't have been separated. In fact, Hu's character, in the end, Humin wouldn't end Ning Ziyuan. That was because there was a problem with his character. Which normal university student would go out to have sex with prostitutes during school? Even if his girlfriend didn't sleep with him, he couldn't find an excuse for his disgusting behavior. Today, Humin had become an unreachable figure, living at the top of the circle. She followed Qin Shu to attend all kinds of ceremonies and banquets. When she was working, she was also the most outstanding young doctor. Ning Ziyuan, on the other hand, abandoned himself to work in a small private hospital. He swindled patients and earned some money. Then he gambled with He-Man. He lost all his money, then earned some money, then gambled again. To him, there was no hope in life. And he brought all of this upon himself.
What?
Are you looking at your ex again? Stop looking, she's a rich girl now. You're miles away from her. Don't think about her. Even if you kneel down and beg her, she won't even look at a drowning dog like you. He-Man opened the door and came in. She took off her suspenders and sneered at him, with her upper body naked. It's none of your business. Shut up. Ning Ziyuan glared at He-Man unhappily. On the TV, the host finally agreed to Humin's request and allowed them to ask each other questions. Then, Miss Song, please ask the question first. The host was very biased and gave the opportunity to ask the first question to Song Yisher. If Song Yisher's question was difficult enough and Humin couldn't answer, then Humin would be an unpresentable person. Chapter 1155. Song Yisher glared at Humin with hatred and slowly opened her mouth. What's the ratio of grain to grain? 1 to 2, Humin answered. Correct, the host announced as he held his forehead. Next, it's Mrs. Chen's turn to ask a question. In honor of the Olympics, I'll ask you a simple question related to the Olympics. Who was the champion of the men's singles table tennis at the 2008 Olympics? Humin asked with a smile. This question was actually very simple. Even the audience knew the answer. However, Song Yisher clearly hesitated for a moment. She claimed to be patriotic and had a China complex, but she didn't even consider the most basic question. The amazing thing was, after 3 seconds of consideration, she answered, Zhang Jiake. As soon as she finished speaking, the entire audience gasped. No one expected her to answer such a simple question incorrectly. Humin smiled. 8 years ago, it wasn't Zhang Jiake. The champion was Ma Lin. Even the host couldn't stand it anymore and reminded her, Miss Song, Ma Lin and Wang Hao were in the singles final. They were both outstanding players in our country, and Ma Lin won in the end. I remembered wrong. Song Yisher tried to find an excuse for herself, without batting an eyelid. Next, it's Miss Song's turn to ask a question. Song Yisher, when was the computer invented? Humin, 1946. Correct, the host confirmed. Humin, what was the earliest term for a groom? Song Yisher, a man who got married. Wrong. The earliest term for a groom was for a new scholar. The host corrected her. Song Yisher coughed softly, feeling a little awkward. The scene was also extremely silent. Song Yisher, does a fish have a heart? Humin, yes.
Correct.
Humin, do newborns have tears? Song Yisher, yes.
Wrong.
When a newborn baby cries, there are no tears. In front of the TV, Yang laughed and said, I feel embarrassed for Miss Song. A young lady is too awesome. Song Yisher, if you were to boil a pot of water on a spaceship, how long would it take to boil it? Humin, it will never boil. Humin asked, how many kilometers is a light year? Song Yisher, 100,000 kilometers.
Wrong, it's 9.
460 billion kilometers, Humin corrected. Mrs. Chen is right. The host couldn't bear to look at Song Yisher and felt slightly embarrassed. The audience fell silent once again, for questions had already passed, but Song Yisher hadn't answered a single question correctly, while Humin had answered all of them correctly. This was indeed a little embarrassing. Song Isher. Who invented the world's first telescope? Huamin. Galileo. Huamin. Which year was penicillin invented? Song Isher. 1 to 1966. Wrong, it was 1928. Huamin corrected her. That doesn't count. Medical questions are your forte. You did it on purpose. Song Isher was a little angry from embarrassment. Huamin smiled but didn't say anything. Song Isher. Famous tennis player, Schiavone. Which country is he from? Huamin, Italy. Song Isher was slightly surprised. Huamin asked her back. In the 4 books and 5 classics, the 4 books refer to the Analects of Confucius, the Great Learning, and the Doctrine of Amin. Which other books are there? Song Isher looked like she was in a dilemma.
The Tao Te Ching, she replied.
Some of the straight-A students in the audience laughed out loud. Some people couldn't help but wonder if Miss Song really liked Chinese classical literature. Shouldn't a master of Chinese painting learn about ancient history? Miss Song. The real answer is Mencius. The host couldn't stand it anymore and reminded her. I know, I just remembered wrong. Her reason was a little far-fetched. Song Isher, who was the original singer of the song, Every Time Bobio No More Time. Huamin, Britney Spears. Huamin immediately asked, who won the 1993 Nobel Prize for? Song Isher was a little embarrassed and didn't know what to say. Even I know such a simple question, but Miss Song doesn't know. A girl in the audience muttered to herself. Miss Song, you have one chance to ask the audience for help, the host kindly reminded her. Chapter 1156. Song Isher bit her lip and finally said slowly, I'll ask the audience for help. Then, she pointed at a chubby girl. The girl was wearing glasses and looked very cute. She stood up and answered in a loud voice. It's South Africa's greatest leader, Mandela. The host nodded in satisfaction. Correct. Up until now, both sides had asked a total of 7 questions. Huamin got all of them correct, and Song Isher's only correct answer was when she asked the audience for help. It was a bit ironic. More and more voices of doubt began to appear. Didn't Miss Song study abroad for many years and have a lot of knowledge? How come she doesn't even know the basics? Yeah, I think it's strange too. She seems to know a lot, but Mrs. Cheen seems to know everything. What a surprise. Yeah, there's no way to cheat in live interrogations like this. It's a test of one's IQ. Lady Cheen is so smart. She's so young and never studied abroad. I heard that her university isn't a famous one, but she knows a lot. Just then, Song Isher asked angrily, which movie did Nicole Kidman win the 2003 Academy Award for Best Actress? Before Huamin could answer, Zhang Xiaowei, who was sitting in front of the TV, was furious. Fuck, this bitch Song is so shameless. She said that Huamin was bullying her when he asked her about her medical knowledge. Now, she knows that Mian never studied abroad, but she keeps asking about English songs and movies. She's such a scheming bitch, a bitch. Zhang Xiaowei was so angry that she cursed Song Isher for being despicable and shameless. To her surprise, Huamin calmly answered, that movie is The Hours. Correct, the host confirmed. Huamin continued to ask, in Ong Lee's movie, The Teenage Fantasy Drifting, what species was the tiger that the male lead drifted on the sea for 227 days? Siberian tiger. Song Isher stuttered. Huamin was amused by Song Isher. Sister, that's a Bengal tiger. Thank you. The crowd laughed as well. This made Song Isher very embarrassed. Gowran held a can of Coke and said as he watched TV, Mayor Song's daughter is too fucking stupid. She has a good life ahead of her. Why is she looking for trouble? Are you a masochist? Do you feel uncomfortable if you don't get tortured for a day? Song Isher then asked, which of Garcia Marquez's works is hailed as a masterpiece that reproduces the historical and social landscape of Latin America? Huamin, 100 Years of Loneliness. Huamin immediately asked, which famous Russian author wrote The Hunter's Notebook and The Aristocrat's Home? Leo Tolstoy. Song Isher replied without hesitation. Leo Tolstoy's works are Anna Karenina and War and Peace. Did you mix them up, Miss Song? The correct answer should be Turgenev. That's his famous work. Huamin looked at Song Isher speechlessly. If he knew that she was so weak, he wouldn't have wasted his time talking to her. After Huamin finished speaking, everyone roared with laughter again. I think Miss Song is so embarrassed. She was completely destroyed by Mrs. Qin. Are they really good friends? They don't look like it. A girl in the audience quietly asked. Who knows, but now I know that the so-called top student who came back from abroad is just SOSO. She's not even as good as our local genius, Mrs. Qin. The boy next to her laughed. Amidst the mocking laughter, Song Yisher angrily threw out her last question. In the 1930s, when the American economic crisis broke out, who was President Roosevelt's predecessor? Such an unpopular question really put people in a difficult position no one in the audience knew, and some busybodies even took out their phones to search Baidu. Huamin immediately answered, Hoover.
Correct.
The host was about to praise Huamin. Since Song Yisher was so despicable and asked such an unpopular question, Huamin decided not to be merciful. He would torture her until the end, therefore. He racked his brains and asked the last question. In Xin Chiji's Bodhisattva's Book of Bodhisattva, what's the next sentence? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.